It's podcadzo. Oh, dude.
Jesus Christ.
It's the second time one of these beers shot back in my face today. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to podcadzo. Quick introduction today. We want to get right into it.
No, I'm afraid I've been keeping a secret from you.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I don't know how to say this. So I like to think that on the internet, on Instagram specifically, I've gotten good. The algorithm has helped me get pretty good at finding new talent, let's just say, over the last couple years. I showed you Stu.
Show me Stu.
I've shown you some other talented individuals like Bev Casanova, the bass player. But I found someone on Instagram who, there's no other words for it. He is a new talent, a new level of genius. He's a songwriting master, a lyrical genius. I'm afraid that when he breaks through and gets popular, he is going to immediately rise to become the most famous person of all time.
This isn't Donald Fagen you're talking about?
No.
Okay.
Nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today, because why would I want to do that? I've saved a couple of his videos. I'm just going to show them to you now. And we're just going to watch them. And I want to see you react to just pure, unbridled songwriting talent.
I like the looks of this so far.
This is the first. This is the first guy, or the first song. Yeah.
Okay, is
that
this
song one? That song I think is a good light kind of very catchy. Obviously, like one of his radio singles. Good commentary on society. I think it points to us being consuming too much as a society, and our just like mentality of throwing stuff away, like one-time use and just throw stuff away, no attachments to anything. I think this song encapsulates all that very well.
Interesting.
Here's another one.
I'm not sure I picked up on it.
This one's more of a love song, so he's obviously singing.
I love how short they are. I see that you're one of the commenters on this too.
Yes, I was the first person to comment on that. I'm a little bit bummed that I didn't get more of a reaction on my comment, but yeah, I think that's a love song. Obviously, he's singing about a lost love, someone being stuck in his heart or lost in his heart. So he's got a wide range. You know, he talks about political issues. He talks about romance and love. And then I wanted to show you this too. This is just him kind of giving the fans like a peek behind the curtain, talking about some of his influences and just kind of things that he enjoys doing with his downtime. So here we go.
Steely, I'm the new fans, yeah, Steely. New t-shirt, yeah. Hope you enjoy my video, Steely. Hope everything gonna be good. You and Joe make it a long show, long tour. Hope everything will be fine, okay? See you next time, baby. Be careful, so.
This is what I'm saying. The algorithm brings me these people before they've broken through.
So where's this
we've
guy?
Got a chance to reach out to this guy and tap his brain on stuff before he's broken through. If he speaks English, that is.
All right, well let's tag him. What is his username?
So I believe it is Guitar Bay BEI 2015. We don't have to have him on the podcast because I'm not convinced that he speaks English, in all honesty.
Do you know where he's based in the world?
I've got no idea. I would guess China. And I feel like we have a chance to be in on the ground floor here. So yeah, we can try to hit him up. We can steal his formula. Fucking, I don't know, just appreciate the genius that is this guy, Guitar Bay 2015. He He really is just a genius.
I like his voice a lot. I like his look. I'll tell you that much.
The look is great.
Look is great.
I'll see if I can't find one of his electric guitar videos, because I think we get to see like a more interesting side of him when he's playing electric. So we can see he's a sweet and sensitive guy. He cares about social issues and love, but he also is into thrash and noise, and he's into the weird stuff, the experimental, the avant-garde. He's everything. He's the full man. He's the full scale. So I think we would be remiss to not at least just bring him up and let the world know he exists.
So this is episode 42 of Podcadzo. I can't believe it took us 42 episodes to talk about Steely Dan.
And also congratulations for making it a full year doing the pod.
Yeah, dude.
We've only
Congrats.
missed like, what, four?
Four weeks, yeah.
Will's here, everybody.
Yeah, I can't believe it's... Yeah, congrats on going a full year. It's crazy. I think we're a little bit shy of a year. I think the first one of these came out late April.
Let me double check.
Ooh! And you know... Ooh, that glass almost... still is almost cracking. Will to the rescue. Thank you, Will.
Thank God you just got here. I was going to ask you to leave, but I guess you can stay now.
And you know, a full calendar year, 52 weeks. I think around episode 48 we'll be at a year.
All right, well, fuck you, dude.
Just using basic
May
math and logic.
9th, 2023. So,
May, okay,
yeah, it hasn't been a year, but it feels like it's
We're
been
close.
several.
But regardless, I can't believe it took us 42 episodes to talk about Steely Dan.
I can.
Yeah, there's a lot to talk
We
about.
don't
That's
mention,
true.
we don't like talk about,
Especially
we don't
when
really
we have
talk
to
about
talk
Steely
about-
Dan that much.
We
We didn't even bring, Connor brought them up. We didn't bring them up. It was Connor's idea.
Well, Steely Dan just looms large in my life, I guess.
Not mine.
Well, let's just move on. So we have Connor back on the pod today. Very grateful to have Connor on. He always brings great takes, such great taste. He really had a lot of great opinions on Steely Dan that
True.
he was kind enough to share with us today. So I think without further ado, let's hop into the episode.
I got tickets to see Queens of the Stone Age at the Santa Barbara Bowl in May.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I'm fucking fired up.
That's
I don't know
awesome,
if we were
man.
talking about it last time, but that venue is so sick, and I've been waiting since I moved here for somebody cool to come through, and that's about as cool as it gets. So
Hell yeah. Yeah, Julie and I
Pretty
saw
tight.
them on the End is Nero tour at Fiddler's Green in Denver. And it was maybe the best concert I've been to.
It was definitely in the top
was
five.
it? Were they awesome?
Yeah, they were
They were
incredible.
so good.
I'm so excited.
We always talk about, we didn't realize how much of a guitar show it was going to be. Like, which sounds stupid to say out loud. Like, it's Josh Homme, Troy Van Leeuwen.
Yeah.
Like, of course there's going to be a lot of impressive guitar, but it, like, dominated the whole show. Like, the playing was just so on point.
Yeah, I had never appreciated how
believe
great
it.
of a guitar player Josh Homme and like what a unique style he has until that concert. And yeah, it
Me
was sick.
neither, but I've been going down the rabbit hole on them since I got those tickets.
Uh-huh.
And that Rated R album, that has a lot of sick guitar on
Yeah,
it.
Rated R is sick. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
that-
a lot of
I
their
didn't-
early albums are, like, very guitar heavy, but, like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
They didn't have their sound quite as like totally fleshed out, but the guitar is fucking really good.
Yeah,
There's some-
absolutely.
Some cool stuff going on.
You got your 8-minute
Um,
Cape Cod shirt on too?
Yeah, I figured it would be.
Yeah, very appropriate.
How do y'all
Well,
feel
it's
about the
all your-
singles?
I'm glad this came up because I know we're doing a
Oh,
Steely
yeah.
Dan episode, but I did want to
Oh,
talk about the
I
singles with
also have my
Connor.
Vampire Weekend soccer jersey that I just got.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
It was with my, I got the Frog on the Bass Drum vinyl,
Yeah.
and it was a bundle, and I was like, well, I really want that shirt. So
Yeah, that is so dope. I haven't seen
Yeah.
that one.
it's kind of, well, it was only a bundle pack with that Frog on the Bass Drum thing.
Mhm.
I just like randomly saw it posted one day. But yeah, singles. I haven't. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't listened to Classical yet.
Oh, shit.
Classical is my favorite one so far.
It is my
Is
favorite
it?
one as well. Yeah.
Okay, I sort of maybe I don't know. I didn't know it came out, and I was like, I had this half thing in my head, like maybe I'll just wait till the album comes out for the rest of them.
Yeah. I think that's a cool thing to do. Just wait until you have the context of the album to listen to all the singles in rather than one by one. Cause I've been listening to the singles a lot, especially classical, cause it has been my favorite. And, it will be interesting to hear them in the context of the album, like I was saying, but I hope I haven't ruined them for myself by listening to them so much standalone.
That's kind of happening. Well, the reason I was thinking of it is because I don't know. Do you guys ever listen to Justice?
Yeah.
The house band. They're coming out with a new album. Have you listened to their singles at all?
No.
They're good, but they're doing the same thing. They're putting out a single like once a month, and I've listened to like the first 3 singles like a fuck ton.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not even gonna want to listen to these songs again when the album comes out.
Yeah. I was just thinking that today, actually, like doing a bunch of Steely Dan research, how, there was such a format for many years on the, album single relationship. You did 1 single, maybe 2 before the album dropped. Yeah. And then the album, and then you released a single after the album dropped. As a time-honored tradition. And there's really no like format for releasing singles anymore in the era of streaming.
Yeah, some bands release like no singles.
Yeah.
Other bands release like half the album before it comes out. I mean, are there 8 songs on the new Vampire Weekend or 9?
I'd have to check. I'm not sure.
It's like 8 or 9, and there's already
3 of them are
out.
Yeah.
So it could be considered almost half the record.
Yeah,
that's kind of why I'm like, I don't know if I want to deal with that. Like,
my take
I
on
want to
it,
just have it.
I feel like my take on it is if it's gonna be like more of a conceptual record, like I don't know, just like a project from start to finish that's like a narrative from start to finish, then I feel like I try not to wear the singles out. But if I feel like the album is just gonna be a collection of singles, then it doesn't really matter. Yeah.
Fair.
Have you guys checked out the Vampire Campfire podcast yet?
I did listen to it.
Okay.
It wasn't super great in my opinion.
No, it was kind of dry, but I still enjoyed it. But Ezra actually brought that up on the podcast, that he said he knows for a fact that a lot of Vampire fans don't listen to singles at all before the whole album comes out. So
it's not something I've really ever practiced in the past, but it just came out last Friday, right?
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, classical.
So I haven't I'm not hardened to that decision, but I wasn't like, I don't know.
You might as well let it ride now.
Yeah, I mean the album comes
out. I know,
out.
it's not that long. It's coming out like April, right?
April 5th, yeah.
Yeah, I think I could just stick it out to this point.
Right on.
It was funny because I was listening to the episode where you guys were talking about the Scott Aukerman, Adam Scott podcast.
Yeah.
Which I am a huge fan of.
It's quite good.
Yeah. But you were saying that you thought your podcast was a ripoff of that.
Uh-huh.
And this whole time I thought, sorry, I'm fucking with my window here.
No, you're good.
This whole time I thought your podcast was a ripoff of Time Crisis.
Time Crisis, yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was more in that range. Maybe it's just because you guys are in the band.
Mm-hmm.
But
true.
I always thought it was more of a Time Crisis vibe than a you talking.
Well,
vibe.
That's a compliment to me because I love Time Crisis, and I more consciously have ripped off Time Crisis than you talking U2 to me.
I still haven't listened to Time Crisis because I don't have
Apple Music. It's the only reason I have Apple Music.
Yeah.
Same. I have that, and there's one Action Bronson album that's not on Spotify that I really like that I listen to on Apple Music.
Oh, interesting.
Nice.
Those are the only 2 things I use it for, and I'll let go on and off. It drives me nuts that you can't hold your place in the episode.
Well, they switched over to the podcast app now. So all the Apple Music radio shows are now on Apple Podcasts, which will hold your place in the episode.
It's still like
probably
make a radio show.
Yeah, and it's still subscription.
It's an internet radio show.
It's an internet radio show. Yeah, it's on podcast.
They made that very clear.
So, Conor, therefore, we cannot be ripping off Time Crisis because we are.
We're very much a podcast.
Yeah.
Also, Time Crisis is is a very much a show about nothing. So
yeah, indeed.
There's not
mostly corporate food history.
Well, there's a critical difference because this podcast is about you too. So
and in that way, we are ripping off you talking U2 to me.
And who said they hadn't listened to the Talking Heads one yet?
Julian
I
had
haven't
it.
listened to the. Well, I
Dude,
have
that's the best
since
one.
I have since then started listening to the Talking Head ones. Out
That's
of
the
order
best one.
though. I think I started with the one I started with. They have a guest on with them.
Well,
I think it's
Ezra
Ezra Koenig.
comes
I'm
on as a
listening
guest.
to
Yeah,
the
Ezra and
Koenig
Jake do.
one.
Yeah.
I love that one. And they're like, so how come you wanted to come on and do True Lies? And he was like, well, when you asked me to come on, that was the only one left.
He's
Yeah.
like, I don't really know this album very well. I don't really like this album very much compared to the other
It's not
ones.
a very good album.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
It's
and
like
they
their
were
worst
also
one of their worst albums.
to the point in their career where David Byrne is being questionable. So they
They-
spend
they
most of the
hated him.
podcast talking about how shitty David Byrne is, which I thought was a funny place to start.
Mr. Burns.
Because right now,
Mr. Burns, yeah.
Mr. Burns is kind of, I feel like, getting a little bit sucked off by the social zeitgeist these days. Everyone's
Yeah.
like, he's the fucking man, but like
He
was
is
kind
the
of
man. I do
prick.
love him.
I mean,
Yeah, David
yeah,
Byrne.
he's
no,
definitely
he's
a prick.
He's
a
the
huge
man
prick.
for sure.
And they
Him and Eno together must have been insufferable.
insufferable.
Like,
Grouch.
but they're
Yeah.
they're
Sourpuss.
geniuses, man. I mean,
Yeah.
they can't all be great people that make you feel warm and fuzzy.
Well,
true.
well, speaking of two insufferable people who are good at making music, should we switch to Steely Dan?
Yes, we should. We
All right.
should.
Well,
Last thing I was going to say though is the
Yeah.
episode, the Speaking in Tongues episode. They have David Wayne on, who's the
Okay.
guy who wrote like Hot American Summer, and it's fucking hilarious. So listen to that episode because he's really funny.
Okay.
But,
I wanna
let's
revisit
talk
some of
about the duo themselves.
For sure. Well, so
So
Connor,
what we call this podcast? You stealing Steely Dan on my Dan?
Steely, you Dan in on my
You,
Steely.
you
You
stealing
laying
Dan to my
Steely
can?
Dan on these cans.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, you stealing Steely Dan on these cans? That's pretty good.
That's really good.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, we gotta lock in.
Please
going
don't sue
forward.
us. We're doing this because we
No.
like you guys, not because we want to steal your formula.
If they hear of this podcast, I'll be shocked.
If you've heard of this podcast in any way, come on.
We love
Come
you.
on.
Yeah.
If
on,
Fagan
podcast.
has
We'll do
ever
a full
listened to a
season.
single podcast,
We'll do a full season of Steely Dan.
yeah.
It's true.
This is going to be one episode. It's going to be hard,
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, it's going to be a surface episode. So we
So-
can
especially
definitely.
considering the start we've gotten off to.
I know.
Forward.
Should we try to? So I had an idea to maybe try to lay down some groundwork first. get your guys' idea on how the flow of this should go. So my idea was, and feel free to disagree with this, obviously, if you have your own ideas. I thought I prepared a very basic introduction about the history of Steely Dan, the formation, and then I figured
Cool.
we could just get into the albums. And I
Yeah.
thought we could talk kind of in detail on everything through Gaucho and really like
Yeah.
spend time on that. And then, we'll make the rest of it kind of footnote if we have time.
Yeah, that sounds perfect to me. I'm not. I was gonna do more Wikipedia reading,
Uh-huh.
but I didn't really. I really just went full listening. But I did a lot of listening.
Yeah, you said you're very brushed
Yeah,
up.
I did a lot of
Hours-
listening and I made
hours and
lists.
That's great.
Yeah.
I did do a lot of Wikipedia stuff. So I'll start off with that.
You could be kind of the. Let's call you the Scott Ackerman of the podcast.
You can be the Siri of the podcast.
Yeah. Let's let it rip.
All right, cool. And some of this also, I mentioned, Connor, in the last episode, that book, Major Dudes, which I recommend. Some of this is informed by that book, Major Dudes. So I'd recommend that to the audience if you're interested.
Could you cite that in MLA, please?
I can, yeah. I literally did make a slideshow, Connor, as I said I would on chat. But it does not have a bibliography yet, so I'll do that.
Okay.
So, Steely Dan Basics. The group was founded in 1971 by Walter Becker and Donald Fagen. Becker and Fagen met in 1967 at Bard College in upstate New York. And they played in several different bands together, including a band called Leather Canary, which, fun fact, featured Chevy Chase on drums, who would, of course, become a comedy star in his own right later on.
I have one quick interjection.
Yeah, please.
I once visited. I did know that they went to Bard College.
Mhm.
I once visited Bard College, and It is exactly the type of place you would expect Steely Dan to come from. It is not. The people there were very. I went to school in Boulder, which there were some hippies, and then I went to Bard, and I was like, "Holy Jesus!" It's a different level.
Were there any memorials to Steely Dan there? Anything? Any plaques?
This was in like. No, I didn't. I went to a house party there. Like I was driving to New York City with my friend, or actually to Cape Cod with my friend to live there for the summer, and we stopped. He had a couple buddies at Bard, so we just went to their house. So I didn't actually go to the campus.
Okay,
but I would just hang out with Bard people for a night, and it was quite interesting.
Well, that's cool. I would like to visit there.
Yeah.
So speaking,
I don't know if you would.
well, speaking of the hippie thing. It was noted that they, at Bard, very much lived, at that time, what was considered kind of a hippie beatnik lifestyle. Their friends said they were very pale, hardly ever left their dorm rooms, didn't sleep, chain smoked, and were not particularly attractive. So after Fagen graduated in '69, the group moved to Brooklyn and basically began
checks out.
Yeah. They tried to become professional songwriters essentially at that point. So they did get a song placed in a movie with Richard Pryor and Robert Downey Sr. That was a total flop.
Did they study music at Bard or?
I should have written this down. I believe Becker was studying music, and I think Fagen was doing literature.
Okay, it's just they have the vibe of like a classically trained band, so it's just interesting to hear.
Definitely. Becker was very much classically trained, and that's how they met. Is Donald Fagen overheard Becker playing guitar through his dorm room and was like very impressed by Becker's prowess. He actually, this was quoted on Wikipedia, Fagen said that he thought Becker was a black guy by hearing him play, and I was surprised when he was a white guy.
So did he just walk into his dorm room one day and he said, "First of all, I'm very impressed with your prowess. Yes. Second of all, I thought you were a black guy."
Yeah, pretty much. That's exactly how it went down. And that would define their relationship for the next 40 years about. So they moved to Brooklyn in '69, got a song placed in a movie. They then joined this band called Jay and the Americans in 1970. We're just like kind of, hired guns for Jay and the Americans. The frontman of that band referred to them as the Manson and Starkweather of rock and roll, referring to Charles Manson and the spree killer Charles Starkweather. So all this is to say is they were not particularly likable or cool dudes. So they had a relationship through their songwriting stuff to this dude named Gary Katz, who moved to California to work for ABC Records. And he basically implored Becker and Fagen to move out there with him to Los Angeles and become staff songwriters for ABC Records. So they moved out to California to pursue that. But as they started to write songs, they realized that their arrangements were a little bit too complex for most ABC artists. And so the dudes just decided to start their own band. And they employed Denny Diaz and Jeff Skunk Baxter on guitar.
Skunk Baxter, he ends up being like a very famous studio guitarist, right?
He does indeed.
Lots of those really good solos, they're him. And my brother talks about him a lot.
Yeah, he ends up joining the Doobie Brothers later on too.
Okay, yeah. They have a lot of Michael McDonald backup vocals, speaking of Doobie Brothers.
They do. Yeah,
well.
I have a lot of notes on McDonald in here, so I'm glad you brought that
Love
up.
it. We'll get there.
So they got drummer Jim Hodder and singer David Palmer. And Gary Katz immediately signed them to ABC Records even before they, had any songs.
Nice. So the singer. So this is like right pre Can't Buy a Thrill. So they had this David Palmer, and he's singing on like Dirty Work, right? And what's Midnight Cruiser? I think. There's a
Midnight
couple big ones off of Can't Buy a Thrill that aren't Fagen or Becker, I know.
Midnight Cruiser is actually the drummer, Jim
Okay.
Hodder, singing.
Okay.
So yeah, Palmer does all the vocals on Dirty Work, and then he does collabs with Fagen on Only a Fool Would Say That and
Okay.
Change of the Guard. At that point, Palmer was really only employed as a singer because Fagen had a lot of stage fright, and he was kind of a reluctant frontman, and he was worried about performing live. So they really brought David Palmer in to be kind of the face of the live bands, but they liked him for some of the studio stuff too. So that's
Okay. Interesting.
So this
But he
is
doesn't. That's the only album they have with any backup stuff on it, right?
exactly
Or not backup, but non-lead. Them not leading. vocals.
exactly. After Can't Buy a Thrill came out when they were touring it, Palmer was doing most of the vocals, as I said, but Becker and the producer Gary Katz were kind of like, hey, Fagen, like, you're a much better singer for this band. Like, we like your voice and your style a lot more.
They were very much correct about that.
Yeah.
That was a
Definitely.
great call by them.
Indeed. So Palmer, I think it was pretty amicable the way he left. He just kind of slowly exited the band after that came out, but we'll touch more on that in a second. The band called themselves Steely Dan after a revolutionary steam-powered dildo mentioned in William S. Burroughs' novel Naked Lunch. So the band is named after a dildo, yeah.
I knew that. My dad told me that.
Uh-huh. That's some great, yeah, it's probably my favorite piece of Steely Dan trivia. It's a fun one.
Mm-hmm. Well, a lot of people think it's just a guy named Steely Dan.
Yeah, which would be better, honestly. If it's just a guy called Steely Dan.
It's not.
We're called Steely Dan after our singer, Steely Dan. All right, so that's all the background I wanted to do. That will take us right up to their first studio album released in 1972, Can't Buy a Thrill.
And we're going to listen to it in completion.
In completion right now.
To completion.
To completion.
I
Can't Buy a
completed
Thrill.
before we
of-
started the pod.
Speaking of dildos.
I'm going to bring up the track list here.
Okay. I have it in front of me too.
Overall thoughts on Can't Buy a Thrill for me. Got a lot of fucking hits on it. I'll tell you that much.
It's impressive for a debut album.
It has got some hits. Yeah, it is quite a debut. Definitely upon re-listening, liked it better than I remembered.
Yeah, me as well.
Yeah, like it did more for me. Like I have kind of going off what I put on the playlist. I think I put like the first 6 songs on the album on that playlist. So,
I meant to plug your playlist earlier in the episode too. Connor made a really good Spotify playlist called The Essential Steely Dan. So listeners,
this also inspired me to do it for like 5 other bands.
Oh, that's great.
Now I have a bunch. I just made one for Queens of the Stone Age too.
Ooh,
So
check that one out.
I did one for them. I did one for LCD Sound System. I did a few. Just go look. Go check them out, guys.
Yeah, follow Connor on Spotify.
Yeah, I'm really just starving. I'm making all these great playlists and nobody's listening. But yeah, so it is still jarring to hear non-Fagen on a couple of those songs. I don't like it. But
that's my bit. This would be such an amazing album. And it is still objectively a great album, but it would be much higher in my list if it was more cohesive like the other Dan albums. It's very eclectic in the styles and also in the singing arrangements too.
It feels like a traditional first album, like a traditional debut where it's like, banger, especially in 1972. Yeah, banger singles, super front loaded, but a ton of great singles. But yeah, not a real flow. They're not nearly as eccentric as they will be later on.
Yeah,
and the confidence is not totally there. But that being said, clearly, if it's not your favorite album, you're wrong, because all their biggest hits are off of this album. So
yeah, right.
Which it's definitely more accessible than their other stuff, and I do love a lot of the songs on here. But yeah, I think we all are probably. Julian, are you kind of in the same boat here, or
All right.
You on Camp By
So,
Thrill? Let's
I
see. You've
guess
been a little quiet.
It's interesting. Like, I feel a duality of it. I agree with you that it's very front loaded. And I also agree with you that it feels appropriate to be a first album because it's not necessarily like honed in on kind of what they're trying to do fully yet. But I will say, I think for a first album, and we've talked about this a lot, like best debuts, I would say in the grand scheme of especially like rock and proggy rock in the early 70s, this would, in my opinion, be one of the like strongest debut records to come from a 70s like prog band.
That's right.
And
you
so-
did put this in your top debut albums list.
So I think for that reason, even though it does feel more like collected singles, I think those singles in a way, even though like there are a lot of uncertainties and a lot of confidence not there yet, I think they found a very interesting way into being like accessible and proggy at the same time, like right away. And so for that reason, I really honestly fucking love this album. But I will say the first half of it specifically, not necessarily, well, maybe like the first 2/3. The last third of it isn't as essential. So
I think you go right up to Reeling in the Years, maybe Fire in the Hole. I don't love that song.
yeah.
And then after that, it's like I'd never. But it's a really good point because I think me and Colin sound a little negative there. We're comparing it to the rest of the Steely Dan albums,
Yeah.
but compared to like if this would have been 9 bands out of 10 would have made this album and not made anything close to it after that.
It's true.
It would have been like, oh my God, they had that great first album. They put all their good songs on that album. And there probably are people out there who are novices who think that about Steely Dan.
They
Because
did.
that's what all their hits are on. But,
Yeah, right.
Well, and they laid a really
I'm
solid
sure the record
foundation.
label would have thought they would have hoped they kept making more albums like
Totally.
like this. But
Yeah.
and without this album and its success, we don't get 6 more super high budget and all the best studio musicians out there making 6 more albums for them. That
True.
it doesn't happen without this album.
You need a Can't Buy a Thrill to get to an Asia.
Yes, exactly.
So we mentioned the big songs. I'll just real quick.
You need War to get to Joshua Tree.
Yes, great analog there to something the listeners understand.
Yes.
So
Let's put this in YouTube terms. For the listeners real quick.
Yeah, this is very much the war of the Steely Dan catalog. So the singles from Can't Buy a Thrill were Do It Again. That was the first single. And then the second single was Reelin' in the Years. And yeah, by a lot of metrics, those are the biggest Steely Dan singles. It's what most people would know them by. You know, maybe Ricky Don't Lose That Number. People would know better, but...
You know what I didn't realize? And Dirty Work, if you're a Sopranos fan.
Yeah,
Because
that's
there's
true.
that scene of Tony Soprano singing Dirty Work. But Reelin' in the Years, I mean, I've been listening to it a lot, but I think it was literally like last night where it hit me. I was like, this song just starts off with like a 45-second guitar solo.
Yeah.
That's
like
true.
it really does. And I'm like, that's kind of cool. I'm like, it makes me like this song more. Like it's such a hit. It's like their biggest hit, and it's very unconventional. Just
True.
That's what I'm
rips for
saying.
vocals
They
down
make
into
good,
they
like,
make
close to a
prog
minute.
accessible. Like right
Yeah,
away,
so
that's like their thing.
like I said, it grew on me just on the couple listens going back. So it could even continue to grow on me more. And I really don't want to sound negative towards this album, but it's just because of what we're about to get into.
But it fucking sucks, and I hate it.
We're just about to get into some of my favorite music ever made. So I sound underwhelmed relatively.
I'm surprised Dirty Work. I thought Dirty Work would have been one of the singles off of it because that's probably like growing up. I feel like I knew the song Dirty Work better than Reelin' in the Years.
What my
or heard it
dad
more
told
often.
me, my dad and I were talking to Steely Dan a few weeks ago, and I don't know if my dad's right about this, but he told me that essentially they wanted that to be a single, and that's one of the reasons why What's His Face is singing on it.
David Palmer.
Because they wanted it to be like a very catchy, jingly single.
Yeah.
But I guess the record label didn't think it was a good idea, specifically because they
Interesting.
didn't have one of their like frontmen singing on it.
Very interesting. So the singles, speaking of the singles, they did reach number 6 and number 11 on the Billboard charts respectively. So Do It Again reached number 6 and Reelin' in the Years reached number 11.
Are those their 2 highest charting?
No, actually, I think Ricky Don't Lose That Number
Okay.
climbed higher. Yeah, it's their most successful single. I think it entered the top 5. I don't think it ever got to number 1.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So I guess I was going off their I guess I was going off their Spotify streams.
Yeah.
Because their Spotify streams is like all Can't Buy a Thrill.
Yeah. Reelin' in the Years, I think, has the most
Interesting.
streams
Yeah, it's Reelin' in the Years, Do It
Spotify.
Again, Dirty Work.
I didn't
Only a
think they
fool would
checked
say that.
Spotify.
And then Ricky Don't Lose That Number.
Yeah, Dirty Work's like number 3 on Spotify.
Charting gives us like when it actually came out, so that's good to know as well.
Yeah.
To have some context there.
Cool.
All right, you want to talk some Countdown to Ecstasy?
Yes, I would love to go to Countdown to Ecstasy. So now we jump just 1 year later, 1973, July 1973, and they released Countdown to Ecstasy.
Can we talk about how fucked up it is that it's Can't Buy a Thrill, Countdown to Ecstasy, Pretzel Logic, Katie Lied, Royal Scam, Asia, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77.
Yeah,
so
bands,
What is that?
bands in the 70s were all on that shit.
It's like the Beatles were like that. Like everybody was like that, but it's just like if bands just do not do that today.
No, they don't.
It's because, I mean, to sum it up very basically, back in the day, record sales were like a thing that drove bands to like make money, and if a record sold well, that's how they knew they should tour a record. Now you have to tour the record just in hopes that people will show up, because that's like the only way you can really make money, because record sales aren't a thing and making money off of streams is impossible. So,
and with social media and music videos and just the landscape of like media in general today, you can get so much more shelf life, squeeze so much more life out of an album now.
Right. The album doesn't need to have as much on it, and also in a lot of ways, if you are releasing something that frequently, you're almost like oversaturating yourself, because people don't really want to listen to that much consistent output from a project.
Yeah, definitely.
And as you know, Steely Dan did not like to tour either.
True. And it was hard for them to tour, logistically speaking.
They would end up becoming purely a studio band, yes. All right.
Sorry, I just wanted to... I know there's a lot of bands like that, but it just still blows my mind every time. Like,
it's crazy because
5-year run is just ridiculous.
It's also high caliber.
Yeah.
That's the thing. There's no... And it's all... And they're progressing the whole time. But I will say, Countdown to X. I've been. I don't. Oh, well, I guess we shouldn't get into lists yet, right?
No lists.
We're gonna do lists at the end.
We'll do lists at the end. Yeah.
Never mind.
But I did want you
Shut
to,
your sexy mouth.
Connor. I
won't say anything about Countdown to Ecstasy and where it is on my list.
I wanted you to kick off Countdown to Ecstasy because when we were texting the other day about this, you said that you had been blasting a lot of Countdown.
Yes.
And
I listened to it for like 2 straight days, and I drive around all day for work, so. Like a full day of listening for me is several hours.
Yeah.
So I think I would probably listen to this I probably listened to it 5 to 10 times. And then the songs I liked even more.
I won't mention where it is on my list, but this was one.
It is on your list.
Or if it's on my list is what I meant.
Y'all both slipped up.
No, I meant if it's on my list at all.
It might not be on my list.
Yeah, it might not be on mine either. But regardless, this is one that snuck up on me. It's like an album I largely ignored in the Steely Dan catalog, but that I really, really ended up digging upon.
It is so good. I don't even know what to say. I will say Bodhisattva. I think that's what kept me away from this album. Because that's like the one song I had heard from it, and I just don't love it. That song, I don't know if Fish has covered it before, or that song just makes me fucking think of Fish. and I don't know what it is. So like that song, and it's not a bad song. It's just something about it I don't like. But the Boston Rag is a very, very high end and a very high percentile for me of Steely Dan songs.
That's a banger.
Speaking of guitar solos, that one has a fucking banger guitar solo like 3.5 minutes into the song.
Mm-hmm. And I love the
That
lyrics in the Boston Rag too. They're very like Fagen-esque lyrics.
Yeah, his lyrics are very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, very out there.
My old school though. Let's just talk. Should we go straight to my old school? Should we just talk about
Let's
how
do
good
it.
the song that is?
Yeah.
That song is so. I don't know what to say about it. It's just like the.
Let's talk
like
about it, but I don't know what to say
now,
though.
But like it's like it feels like the perfect Steely Dan song. You know, it feels like that's like where it all came together, and they just like it took off from there. But like once they hit that little, whoa no, and then it's just like, oh, it's on. This
True.
band has caught something, and we're along for the ride now. They've nailed the. Not only do they have the skill and the songwriting ability, but now they're getting those hooks down, and it's all getting catchy, and it's all coming together, and it's like, oh, I've listened to that song probably 30 times in the last 2 weeks. Like it's just,
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I love the harmonies. I love everything about it.
The one thing I wanted to say about the album as a whole is just that I think nowadays, and for a while, there's been like this thing where bands fear the release of their second album because it's like you kind of have the most to prove on your second album.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically, Bono said it well. He said you have your entire life to write your first album, and then you have about a year to write your second album. So you just have to kind of figure it out like really quickly and make a statement that convinces people you deserve to stick around for more than 2 albums.
And this is very much the boy of their catalog.
It is kind of because it cements them as like they should be taken seriously as a prog kind of outfit, but also like as a commercial, like catchy hook writing, accessible band. Like they made this record like their mission statement, I feel like, in a lot of ways.
I will say they just coming off Can't Buy a Thrill, it was a ballsy release because every song on this album is 6 minutes long and has a 2-minute jam straight in the middle of it.
True.
What was dropped? Was King of the World the single on this, or
no? It was Showbiz Kids was the first single, and then My Old School was the second single.
Showbiz Kids is a strange song.
It is a strange song. I love Showbiz Kids though.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. But this album is much, I would say, less accessible than Can't Buy a Thrill.
It is. It's similar
it's ballsy in that.
Similar themes of the first album, and you can see it is kind of like a logical continuation of where they were going, but just like much weirder, less accessible, but because of that, more Dan-esque. Really them finding their voice.
And I also think, considering where rock was in the early 70s and how much it was like wandering towards being proggier, I think in a lot of ways it was pseudo-reflective of the prog of the 70s, but it cracked the code of being like digestible to the masses, whereas like I think a lot of early 70s prog was just like fucking weird and not necessarily like super full of like hooks or like even just like interesting jams. They were just like noise sections or shit like that. So
yeah,
or like piano ballads, like If You're Fucking Yes or whatever. Like
how I always felt about them is like they have no attachment or love of prog or anything. They're just like pure songwriters.
Yeah, they're accidentally proggy.
Exactly. If you threw them in any era, they would write hits to the sound of that era, and it just happens in the 70s to be prog.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of that being like they're both huge jazz heads too.
Right. Well, and you can even tell like where that shifts kind of in the back half of the 70s, because their music tends to, not to jump ahead too much, but their music tends to, I feel like, be proggier the first like 5 or 6 albums than the rest of them.
True. Just a couple things I wanted to mention on Countdown to Ecstasy. Something I found out today, actually, is parts of the album were recorded in Nederland, Colorado.
What?
Outside of Boulder.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
No way.
I forget the name of the studio up there, and I tried to look further into that to see which songs or which tracks they laid down in Nederland.
I go camping in Nederland.
Yeah.
Somewhat frequently.
I was just
You
up
ever
there
go to Frozen Dead Guy Day?
Yeah.
Never actually been, but I've obviously heard about it, and I've camped
Who hasn't?
near where that town supposedly is.
The other thing I wanted to mention is that Becker and Fagen were not particularly happy with a lot of the performances on this album and not too happy with it as a whole. That was kind of validated when it wasn't as well received as the first album. The singles didn't chart that high. However, after a little bit of time, My Old School and to a much lesser extent, Bodhisattva became FM rock staples at the time. So I think that's interesting that Bodhisattva was on there. I do like Bodhisattva.
I knew it was one of their more popular songs because it was the only one I'd heard it on the radio, but I don't know. It's like I really don't hate the song. I just personally don't. It's not my favorite.
Yeah.
It's kind of, especially it's the first song on the album, so I kind of would just start by on the second song.
Fair enough. Do you guys have any closing remarks on Countdown to Ecstasy?
I'm excited to see if it appears on anybody's list later.
Yeah.
I wonder
something.
if it will.
I'm very excited to get to the
It'll be
list.
interesting to see. It'll certainly be.
It'll be a surprise, that's for sure.
Yeah, if it does pop up, we'll all be shocked.
Yes,
shocked.
for sure.
Yeah.
No warning of that. All right. 1974. Pretzel Logic.
Oh.
February 1974 to be exact.
Yes.
So this is less than a year. This is really 7 months.
7 months
between Countdown to Ecstasy and Pretzel Logic.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty wild.
And I will say, even though they're very clearly on a trajectory, like they are Steely Dan the whole way through, there's a through line. I do feel like Pretzel Logic shows a lot of growth. Like from 2 to 3, there's a lot of growth, and Pretzel Logic kind of sits in its own little world a little bit more.
Yeah, because it does feel. It feels like sound wise. I don't know. Almost for me, sound wise, Countdown to Ecstasy almost straight lines more straight through to Royal Scam, and Pretzel Logic and Katie Lie are kind of this less jazzy. Not that they're not jazzy, but they feel a little more straightforward, rock-driven songs on them. Maybe that's just the vibe I get off of each of them, but I feel like
I think that's fair.
Not to like jump ahead, but
I always
it doesn't almost feel like a direct evolution of Countdown to Ecstasy in a way.
Yeah, I always grouped these Pretzel Logic and Katie Lied together, and to be honest, never was a fan too much of either of them. Like I grouped them together and was like, that's the era of Steely Dan that gets kind of weird. I don't like, but diving into them again, I do like the albums. Like I can't say I don't. So we'll get into
Pretzel Logic especially is really good.
This is why I'm very excited to get into the lists later, because let's just say I think our lists are going to be very, very different.
I had a feeling.
I'm saying I really like Pretzel Logic. Pretzel Logic's really good.
Yeah, I agree. I love Pretzel Logic as well. I think for a very long time, and not to ruin anything, but for a very long time, it was like the Steely Dan record I was returning to, because I think for me, it kind of reaches that peak of being catchy and accessible while still leaning pretty heavy into like 70s prog tendencies.
The fucking guitar solo on Ricky Don't Lose That Number.
Yeah, I mean,
so
the song
ridiculous,
overall, Ricky Don't Lose That Number, is just such a fucking banger. Like, there's not a single second of that song I would change.
And that one moment when that tone, that is...
And it still sounds modern.
It's the crispiest guitar tone you've ever... It's just... It cuts through anything you're listening to it on, and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So I think that was Skunk Baxter who played on that solo.
I'm almost positive that one was my man.
Yeah.
JSB. Skunk Man.
So let's get in the track list.
Do you know what they call him? The Skunk Man?
The Skunk Man, yeah. He's the Skunk Man.
Because when his solo comes on, you go, hey,
It's pretty good. All right. This
Skunk Man did it again.
Well, Connor, you're gonna be sorry to hear this because of the Skunk Man.
That wasn't?
No, it is. It is his solo, I believe. But this was the last Steely Dan album to feature the original quintet of musicians. So this is the last, the Skunk Band continued to play on some of the songs afterwards, but this is when kind of the band as it was disbanded after Pretzel Logic.
As it were.
Yes, as it were. Skunk joined the Doobie Brothers after this, as I mentioned earlier.
Okay.
And the other musicians kind of went their own way. A lot of that happened because there was like continuing contention growing within the members of the group because Becker and Fagen were really turning away from touring. They did not want to do it. And the other guys were more like, classic road dog, hired guns are like, we got to tour, we got to get on the road. That's what we want to do. But they were really only interested.
We want to get chicks.
Yeah, we want to get chicks.
And we want to party.
Yeah. We want to get our penises sucked on.
I'm pretty sure they just wanted to check out the local museums and churches in every town and city.
The cultural significance.
Walter Becker and Donald Fagen were like, all we want to do is stay at home and dissect frogs.
Yeah. And chain smoke. So this is Pretzel Logic for me. It was a significant album because my impression.
Where does it rank for you in terms of Steely Dan albums?
I think we can get to that later.
Yeah. Why are you trying to rush the process?
Right, sorry, I was stopping right.
My impression of Steely Dan before I got really into them was that they were like the best sounding hi-fi band out there. When I do live gigs as a sound engineer, I often test the PA with Steely Dan songs because I'd seen every other engineer I ever worked with test with Steely Dan songs because of the quality of their recorded music. But Pretzel Logic is really when they started to strive for studio perfection and got really into some more experimental studio techniques, really started to demand more from the musicians and ask them to do a lot of takes. There's famously on this album up to 40 takes of certain tracks. So they got really anal about studio stuff in this one.
The performances are so good. Mm-hmm. Each one is just so fucking good. And it's a modern sounding album still. You can throw it up against shit that came out in the 2000s and they kind of sound similar.
For
it's
sure.
Pretty crazy.
And then just on theme of them not giving a fuck about their haters, they throw in East St. Louis Toodaloo.
Yeah, a Duke
Ellington
Ellington
through
song.
the album just to be like, fuck you.
Yeah.
All right, back to the album.
It is real.
Listen to this for a second, idiot.
Yeah. This is the shit we're on.
Go read a book.
What we like, Duke Ellington.
We're Toodalooing.
We're Toodalooing all over you.
Our shit is Great Depression era based.
So last thing I wanted to mention about the album is that Walter Becker had been the bass player for Steely Dan traditionally on all the other albums. Becker abandoned bass on this song, and this is the first time we get some Becker guitar features because they had hired session musician Chuck Rainey, who's just a beast of a bass player, to play bass on this, and Becker said he just couldn't compete, didn't see a need to play bass if Rainey was there.
Yeah, the bass steps up so much.
It does,
starting
indeed.
on this record.
Yeah. Did Walter Becker say, "I've abandoned my bass"?
Yes. That's actually if you listen closely on some of the singles, you can hear that on the outro.
That's where
you just hear him looking for it. Where is it?
That's where Daniel
Where's my bass?
That's where Daniel Day-Lewis.
Steely Dan.
That's where he got the line from.
I drink your. I don't have a part for that. Actually. I eat your Pretzel Logic. There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Let's go. Let's move on.
Here.
Let's move on to the next.
Well,
No.
we didn't. We
Bro,
didn't.
we still got 4 more albums.
I know, but we didn't really get in the track list yet on Pretzel
All
Logic.
right.
We talked about Ricky Don't Lose That Number.
That's good enough. Let's move on.
What other songs stand out for you guys on this?
Monkey in Your Soul. I love that song. I love the little I can feel the. I don't know. I just like it. It's funky.
I need to pull up the track list on
Pretzel
that.
Logic rules.
Yeah, the song
Great
Pretzel
song.
Logic is amazing.
It's about time travel.
Any major dude will tell you. It's
Okay,
a great
that's
song.
what I was about to say. Any major
just
dude.
a classic, great chill song.
The song-
Just like I was listening to this album. I like to go for these Sunday afternoon walks. There's this awesome, like, kind of half dog park walk thing by my house. And-
Look at you, the Queen of England.
Yeah, no, it's not to flex, but I live in one of the most beautiful towns in the entire world. But so this little walk is like right on the cliff, so you can see all the cliffs and the ocean, and it's all green, and it's like a half dog park, so there's puppies everywhere. And I like to go there, and I grab a coffee, and I put my headphones in, and I hit my weed pen super hard, and I walk around, I pet people's dogs, and then I have my headphones in, I just don't talk to them.
Nice.
And then I keep walking, So I did that the other Sunday while with this album in, and Any Major Dude will tell you was the perfect song to be walking by the ocean.
I could see that.
It was
That sounds lovely.
the whole album was hitting real good, but that song in particular was just a nice, chill, laid back.
Talking about
That was a
Queens
very
of the Stone
long-winded
Age.
way.
Do you ever listen to I Sat by the Ocean while sitting by the ocean? Come on.
I do it. No,
Come
I do
on.
it after. I sit by the ocean and then I leave and then I listen to it because it has to be past.
Yeah,
it's
because he's sad. Yeah,
I have
Joey.
to have
Okay.
sat by. I can't do it if I was sitting on the ocean. I was sat by the ocean. Wouldn't really make any sense.
Yeah, Joey, what a foolish thing to say.
I just
Yeah.
wanted to make sure that in some way that happened. I don't necessarily care about the order of things. I'm glad you care. That's your prerogative.
Yeah. Well, that's just the way time works, buddy. I don't know what to say.
I believe time's like kind of an illusion, and you can bend it in ways that you want to bend it to
Connor's
make it
always
convenient
had
for
a very
yourself.
rigorous and rigid relationship
You're a
with
schedule
time.
guy,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah.
All right.
It's I don't believe in this flat circle type of shit.
It's a line, brother.
I believe if you ain't 15 minutes early, you're late. All right, so is that enough of Pretzel Logic? We like it. There's good songs on there. Parker's Band, that's another good one.
I was
Barry
just gonna
Sound.
ask
I like
Connor-
Barry
With the
Sound,
gun.
too.
Connor, where would you say that this album falls in your ranking of Steely Dan albums?
So I actually have it right at number. Censored. Maybe it's not even on my list. Who knows?
We actually need
That'll
to
be-
cut to an AG1 plug right now. So
Before we go to the next album, I'm going to say Pretzel Logic is a big old piece of shit.
fuck that record.
I erased what I said previously.
Katie lied. Who here? How long does everyone here want to talk about Katie lied for?
I would love to spend as little time as we could on this one.
I don't hate it, but I'm right there with you.
Yeah, this was the
Black
one.
Friday. I like Black Friday. Oh, one of the harder rocking Steely Dan songs, I'd say.
That was the first single. Bad Sneakers was the second single. I like both of those songs. And then
Michael McDonald on Bad Sneakers.
yes, so that's the most notable thing about this album. Probably this is the first one to feature backing vocals by Mr. McDonald.
Nice.
This also because this was the first one where the original quintet disbanded. This one is heavy on the LA session guys. They really got a lot of heavy hitters on this one. My other little fun fact about Katie Lied is that Becker and Fagen were incredibly dissatisfied with the final recording because of a malfunction with this new state-of-the-art DBX noise reduction system that the master went through. It actually damaged the master tapes. It took a while for them to repair the damage, and the damage was mostly repaired. But Becker and Fagen were so upset and put off by it that they refused to listen to the final album for many years.
Cool.
Interesting.
Do you really think that's cool, Julian?
That's very cool. I think
also,
once again
also
this all
refuse
plays
to
into
listen
my
to this album
master
for many
plan for
years.
later.
It's a good album.
It's
Dr.
fine.
Wu is really good too. Everyone's Gone to the Movies is a really good song.
Okay, so like, here's the thing about this album. People always say, especially Dan fans that I've talked to, they're always just like, it's okay. Like, kind of like what we're saying right now. It is what it is. We don't need to talk about it too much. But then you go through the track list, and like, almost all the songs are just so fucking good. Like, I don't know. I think we already said Black Friday, Bad Sneakers. I think Rose Darling is incredible.
Does that one have McDonald vocals on it too?
I can't remember what else.
No,
The only one I know for certain has McDonald backing vocals on it, other than the ones we mentioned, is Any World That I'm Welcome To. I know that one has backing vocals by McDonald.
And I was gonna say that song also.
I love that
rips
song.
as
Yeah,
well.
I do love that song.
I should probably spend a little more time with this album, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
When I went back to it, I liked it, but I didn't listen to it a lot. It wasn't my most.
I just gave this one, one listen through.
I might have done two.
Mm-hmm.
So
I'm holding my cards tight to my chest.
I'm not going to argue with it. I'm not going to argue with you on it, Julian.
Yeah.
I feel an argumentative tone coming from you right now, and I'm honestly not appreciating it. I think we should probably meet up and fight in person.
Well, now that we got past those two just shitty albums that only some fucking asshole would like, listen to the Royal Scam. Let's talk about the Royal Scam.
All right.
We're now in the year of our Lord 1976, May 1976. So a little over a year since Katie lied, and they're back on their bullshit with the Royal Scam.
Yeah.
This album, so I mentioned, Connor, that Countdown to Ecstasy kind of snuck up on me and became, like, I liked it a lot more than I thought I did.
Mm-hmm.
This album even more so did that for me. I fucking love this album so much. It's amazing.
Yeah. It's really, really good. My dad always said this was his favorite Steely Dan album, and even after I got into, I think part of the reason I never liked Steely Dan in the first place is my dad, when I was growing up, would always, when we were going out road trips, he would do the fucking, he'd go, "Is there gas in the car? Yes, there's gas in the car."
That would ruin it for anybody.
Yeah, I think that's why it took me so long to get a Steely Dan in the first place.
Yeah, you had to get through that reference.
Yeah, but yeah, and then I don't know. It was pretty much in, like, there were songs I liked on it, but it was basically in this time when I went back that I was like, "Ooh, this album's really good." Like, there's just some points. They're so on their bullshit. Like, Caves of Altamira has this point. It's a good song overall, and then like the last 30 seconds, they come in with like this full on brass section.
Yeah,
it's just like, and it's fucking, and it's just like a fade out for the end of their song. And it's just like, what was that? I was like, how much did it cost you to make that for the last like 30 seconds?
Yeah,
just to
right.
fade out.
They just had extra budget.
Yeah, you could tell they were just sparing no expense and just still making funny songs like the Fez.
Mm-hmm.
Just a goofy song about condoms.
Yeah. Real quick, the Caves of Altamira, I think the crazy breakdown they do 2 times in that song, I think, is probably like one of my favorite Steely Dan musical moments. It's that just breakdown section and the chords they play. It's so mind-boggling. It's fucking wild. Kid Charlemagne is the first single off of it, and something like that I like about this album is it's very guitar heavy. I read that part of that is because they got Larry Carlton, who was a big LA session guy on this one, and they just loved his playing, so they just gave Larry Carlton as much rope as he wanted, and he rips a bunch of fucking crazy solos. But yeah, Kid Charlemagne's a really strong single, I thought, and a great opening to the album.
Is he the one going so bananas on Talkbox on Haitian Divorce?
Yes.
Okay, that's so sick. That song.
I think, Haitian Divorce is fucking sick. So that was the UK single, and that was a big one for them because that was like the first success they had, or first like big success they had outside of the US. So that made them a big act in UK, and I think that kind of spread to Europe more because Haitian Divorce was really successful there. It got to number 5, I think, on the UK charts.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's always getting high on the UK charts, though. It feels like it's for easy to get to chart high in the UK.
I know. Yeah. People, like, all the weird British artists I like always have a number 1 UK hit.
Oh, yeah. Like Arctic Monkeys are the biggest band in the world, and Britain.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Julian, do you have any thoughts on Royal Scam?
I agree with everything you guys have said. This record always, not that I always forget about it, but it always lays low in my profile when I'm thinking about Steely Dan. But then every time I listen to it, I'm just blown away by I think, again, not to sound like a broken record, the culmination of prog with like more of that like they're almost getting to like a loungy kind of rock at this point in time, but I think Royal Scam is still a lot like edgier than like Gaucho, say, or even like Asia. But I think a lot of the proggy elements on this aren't so much like messing with like chord structure or time signature. It's more like instrumentation. Like we mentioned the Caves of Altamira. That's one of my favorite Steely Dan songs because of the consistent brass that's like throughout the entire song.
Whoa, spoilers. Jesus Christ, man.
What did I say?
Spoilers.
You said it was one of your favorite Steely Dan.
I thought you said that too. Oh, you said a part of it was one of your favorite parts.
I said it's my favorite musical moment.
Okay, Jesus fucking Christ.
But you don't know how he feels about the rest of the song.
Yeah.
I like
it's crazy.
Right,
it's one of my favorite
brass.
musical moments because the rest is dog shit.
I like the brass on that song.
Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. Cool.
And then, yeah, like the title track, The Royal Scam, I think it's interesting to me. This is one of the few Dan records where they close with the title track. And I think it makes a pretty profound statement from like a conceptual standpoint of it being like, again, like a through line of music. I think like the mid 70s is when Steely Dan like really kind of perfects that. So, and yeah, the Fez is a great song too. Like keeping it light throughout this record, which feels in a lot of ways like one of their heavier records. Thematically. So,
God, I want to fucking go listen to this album right now.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. How long is this record?
Take a 41. I do need to pee.
Like 41 minutes.
Please pee, Connor. We'll take a quick break.
All right, take a quick pee pee poo poo break.
Pee pee poo poo.
Pee pee poo.
Peed and shitted.
How do I mute it? I don't know how to mute it, so you guys might have to just hear it. You know, I'll just leave my headphones. Let's leave my headphones here.
Okay. Deal.
What's your beef with Katie Lied, bro?
I like the album a lot for whatever reason. Just I think it's that it kind of sits in the middle of their discography too, and I just never super connected.
So you don't
with
like
any,
Modern Vampires of the City then, because it's kind of just right in the middle of their discography.
Well, now it is.
Yeah,
but
now you don't
at
like
the
it.
time, I considered it the last
so
album
then it
of
was
the trilogy.
Contra.
Contra's my favorite album. You know that. Dude. Don't play this fucking game with me. Katie Lied is kind of what U2 album is. Katie Lied. Not chronologically, because chronologically the fourth album, right? Katie Lied is the fourth.
I think
album.
Katie Lied is kind of like a Zooropa.
Oh,
because it's I'm not gonna say it's like B-sides of Pretzel Logic, but they definitely had to have been.
I think that's a great call.
Working on the songs at the same
Pretzel
time.
Logic is the Octung Baby.
Mm-hmm.
Katie Lied is its Zooropa.
Yeah.
I think that's just.
NC. A lot of people prefer Octung Baby, but I've always been a Zooropa guy. Except I know I'm on record like multiple times saying Octung Baby's my favorite. So.
Pretzel Logic doesn't have enough hits to be the Octung Baby, though, truly.
It's true, but it's still... Well, I mean, considering where U2 was in the 90s, I think it's still that concept of we need to prove that we're focused on this one specific statement.
Mm-hmm, right.
So I walk away for 30 seconds.
We're talking about U2 again. I'm sorry.
You guys start talking. It's like you reverted to the meme so quickly. You're like, all right,
well, we panicked without you carrying the episode, Connor. We just went to what we know. No, we were saying that we were halfway joking, saying what album is Pretzel Logic and Katie Lied in the U2 catalog, and I think Julian made the astute observation that Katie Lied is very much the Zooropa to Pretzel Logic's Octung Baby.
I was about to call it Zootopia.
Zootopia?
Zootopia too.
That bunny had a fat ass in that movie.
I am not a U2 fan.
I think so.
I haven't gone deep on U2. So the fact that I was even remotely close with that War Joshua Tree reference, I kind of pulled that one out of my ass.
I mean, it
good.
didn't make too much sense, but I wasn't gonna say anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if that
There's
actually
at
made
least
sense,
2
I would
albums.
be pretty surprised.
There's there's multiple albums in between those 2 records.
Yeah, it's just
so.
I knew one was before the other one.
No, it's fine. They're just like the biggest band in the world or whatever. It's fine. You don't need to know anything about them.
Are they? I feel like that's my thing with U2. Like, I feel like it's so forced upon me that they're the biggest band in the world.
You should just accept
I mean, they
it.
opened up a whole venue just to
It's
prove
like,
it.
it's like Family Guy.
The least
Like,
you could do is say thank you.
Yeah.
They insist upon themselves.
Yes. That's what we said. That's what Colin said in our last episode. U2 can't help themselves.
Yeah, they can't help themselves. Real quick, before we move on from the Royal Scam, this is maybe my favorite piece of Steely Dan trivia. Because I didn't know this. I think I read it in that Major Dudes book. But anyways, everything you did off of the Royal Scam features a reference to the Eagles. I think it was Fagen's girlfriend at the time was really into the Eagles, and it really, really bothered Fagen. He really didn't like it. And that song is about a fight that they had. And I think it's a real thing that he said to her is like, why don't you fucking turn up the Eagles so the neighbors can hear it?
That's like Kim Kardashian telling Kanye that she likes Taylor Swift.
Yeah. That's true.
That's so funny.
So, yeah, it was kind of like a snarky reference to the Eagles. The line is, why don't you turn up the Eagles so the neighbors can hear it? I think that's the line.
Nice.
The Eagles heard it and...
Real mature.
They were like
they think you're the
sick.
Eagles?
Thank you. I think they were Steely Dan fans.
Perfect.
Yeah, they were like
perfect that they would just be like, new Steely Dan would love this.
exactly. Do not understand the nuance to it at all. They're just like sick. They mentioned
They
us.
mentioned our names.
To return the favor, Eagles reference Steely Dan in one of their biggest songs ever. Do you know what song it is that they reference Steely Dan in?
Take It Easy.
No? Good guess?
Seven Bridges Road.
No. Biggest songs ever.
Hotel California.
It is Hotel California.
What's
The line ended up
Steely
being...
Dan stayed in a hotel when they were in California.
Yeah, that was the conception of the song. But the lyric is... I don't blame you guys for not knowing that this is a reference because they kind of buried the lead. The original lyric was...
listen to the Eagles.
Yeah. The original lyric was Steely Dan's, they dig in Steely Dan's, but they just can't kill the beast. But the record label knew that was a reference to penises, or dildos rather. And so they forced them to say Steely knives, but they just can't kill the beast. But I've heard that line a million times. I never knew it was a Steely Dan reference, so.
Yeah,
Well,
it doesn't
I'm gonna have to
change
tell my
my
dad that
impression
one.
of that song sucking
Or
fat
the
dick.
band. Or the band sucking fat dick.
Yeah.
Or
Fat metal steam powered dicks.
or any of the members in it too.
Joe Walsh. I think
Joe
gets a
Walsh is
pass.
he's amazing.
Joe Walsh gets a pass.
He does.
He's cool.
All right. Asia.
Can I do a little segue here
Yes.
to tell another Al Sanders story?
Yes.
So because they were still touring after Royal Scam, right?
No, they stopped touring
No.
after Pretzel Logic.
Okay, my dad was at. I thought the story was Steely Dan, but I guess not. He was at somebody's concert and he was talking to his buddy who was like really into Steely Dan, and he was talking about how good the Royal Scam was, and he's like, "This is like epitome of Steely Dan. Like they can never top this." And his buddy's like, "I don't know. I heard they got new album coming out this year. It's supposed to be even better than the Royal Scam." And he's like, "No way. There's no way." What came but Asia?
Asia. And the Royal Scam would forever live in its shadow.
Indeed, which is sad, but
I wanted to so in between the Royal Scam and Asia, wanted to like bring up some context of
okay.
yacht rock. Have you guys ever seen the famed internet series called Yacht Rock? Have you guys ever heard of that?
I've never heard of it.
You guys should check it out. You can watch all
series?
Yeah, it was like an internet series. I think it came out in 2005. Just these like nerdy, funny dudes in California, I think, just were really into yacht rock and made like a comedic retelling of some of the most famous yacht rock songs.
Oh, interesting.
Steely Dan is featured heavily in the yacht rock series. You guys should, it's like there's 12 episodes. They're each like 4 minutes long.
I always felt Steely Dan was like. I always thought it was a little bit of an insult to call Steely Dan yacht rock.
I agree. I totally agree. I never considered them really yacht rock, but they definitely existed on the periphery. And
I feel like yacht rock exists as a genre of like rip off, like less good versions of Steely Dan, like all the nuance taken out of Steely Dan.
Yeah,
Just like a bunch of people ripping off Hey 19.
Right.
Not a cool.
I love. I've always
I do
been
love yacht rock, but I just can't put it in the same.
Yeah, I agree. I always considered Steely Dan kind of operating on the periphery of yacht rock.
I can
kind of something that
definitely
they
see-
strove towards.
Sorry.
The yacht rock artists. No, go ahead.
I can see like how people call them yacht rock though. Like I definitely wouldn't blame anyone for calling them / thinking that they are yacht rock.
Yeah,
They have songs that fit in great on a yacht rock playlist.
100%.
You're listening to a playlist of yacht rock, and you could beat so many of their songs. I just think it lowers them to call them that because they're just
yeah.
so
It is
like there's so much more going on than
I totally agree, but
we don't have to get into a whole spiritual debate of
one of the characteristics.
I think we should do exactly that right now.
I think we could do a tight 45 on the just yacht rock, the background,
The
and
subtle differences.
We did
just
cruise
keep
through the
debating
first
if we
4
think
albums pretty fast. I think
Steely
we
Dan
left ourselves
belongs.
some time. So yeah.
We've been going really, really fast.
But I only bring up yacht rock because, I agree it is kind of limiting to consider Steely Dan yacht rock, but that started to become a thing, a notion around the Royal Scam. And, a characteristic of yacht rock is that it's very smooth music, very easy to listen to, pleasing to the ear, great production. I think the Royal Scam really starts to kind of enter that yacht rock world with some of those characteristics. And I agree it's insulting to call Steely Dan yacht rock, but if you are considering them yacht rock and you had to name the greatest yacht rock album of all time, it's Gaucho.
That's a good point.
Second is Asia.
Yeah. I might even flip them. I don't know, but Gaucho has Hey 19 on.
Yeah.
So we'll get to that.
We'll get there.
I just thought of a really good name for the podcast also. Talking Steely Dan with the Sandman.
Ooh.
Oh.
I like that a lot.
Wow.
Or we can continue.
That's really good.
What was the first one? Are you stealing Steely Dan on my
Talking
cans?
Steely Dan
You
to
stealing-
these cans.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You spring it. Did you see their title for this Springsteen one?
Yeah, you springing Springsteen on my bean.
I love hearing them say it because, Adam Scott's just so funny. He'll always just go, "My bean."
The one, I think part of the reason I love the Talking Heads one so much is because they go to the, that starts off as the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, they just
And
abandoned
then
it.
literally in the middle of the episode, they're like, he's like, yeah, I was reading, it was like Pitchfork did all the reviews of Talking Heads albums. And he's like, I was looking at all those reviews of Talking Heads albums. I was like, I kind of wish we did this on Talking Heads. And he's like, Ahmed's like, yeah, I kind of wish we did Talking Heads too. He's like, should we just do Talking Heads? They literally have like 15 minutes into an episode. On like the second episode, they just change it. And they do. So the episode for 77 kind of sucks because they do it like completely off the rip. They just are like reading the Wikipedia.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, should we talk about Asia?
Let's
I think
do it.
we've let the people salivate long enough to hear us talk.
And that was a great segue, Connor, because speaking of Talking Heads, 77, what year does Asia come out in? 1977.
1977. Holy
fucking shit. Released in September of 77.
Holy shit.
19 years before I would be born.
Yeah.
Coincidence?
And
because I was born in
18
September.
years.
I
18
think
and a half
coincidence
years.
is a pretty safe
17
assumption.
and a half years before I was born.
Yeah.
And a mere 24 years before 9/11.
Well, and I said 19 for me because, of course, Hey 19 would be on the next album. I think
Yes.
there's some sort of relationship to be drawn there. Anyways, Asia.
Between 9/11 and that?
Yes.
You can
I forgot
draw-
where I was going.
You can
but-
draw a line anywhere to 9/11. Like
Yeah.
there'll
I'm
always
not-
be a
I'm
way to
just
connect
connecting
anything to
dots
9/11.
here.
Yeah.
You-
Just connecting.
what's the law that after a certain amount of time any conversation will mention Hitler? It's like someone's law.
Hitler's law?
Probably Hitler's law. Yeah.
And
No,
we're proving
Hitler's
it
law
now
was
by me
different.
bringing that up. But I think
Hitler's law
You
was
bring
something
Hitler up
different.
more
Hitler's law
than
was-
almost anyone I know.
Hitler's law was much darker.
Yeah.
There's
And
got to be a
everybody
new
more
one of
Not in
those
skin
for
color, though.
There's got to be. Well, in some ways, yeah.
Oh my God.
There's got to be a new one for 9/11 that, like, after a certain
You gotta
amount of time.
earmark. You gotta earmark this section of the episode.
True. Cut it.
I think like it's interesting that there's so much weird new 9/11 footage dropping now. Like, have you noticed that on the internet the last couple months? There's just all these new angles of there's like people just now releasing like videos of like from like a different towers across the city.
I always thought it was
kinda close
just
to the Twin Towers.
the first plane was always just that one angle of the people like doing a firefighting training in the streets, and they just look up and that's like the only one of the first building though. There's a bunch of the second. It makes sense that there's a lot of the second, obviously.
Connor, I'm pretty sure I went over to your house on 9/11, or that we saw each other on 9/11 because we had school
Yeah,
off
we
that day.
we had a 9/11 party.
Yeah.
No, we didn't.
We didn't. That'd be ridiculous.
That'd be
That'd be
silly.
ridiculous.
We didn't have a party.
Is
You
there-
might have. I went to school, I think. I was a young. Yeah, I don't have like I remember it happening. I don't remember understanding the gravity of it at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't think
Anyways,
I was in kindergarten.
is the joke of this episode that we just never get to talking to Asia?
Yeah. Hey, we gotta wrap it up now, guys.
All right. Part two. Like for part two
Yeah.
next week when we
Next week.
talk.
Don't forget to use our
We
code to
talked
save
about-
10% on athletic
We
greens.
we did talk about 9/11 before we talked about Asia. we kind of jumped ahead. Well, first, before we get into Asia, Julian, where were you on that? Do you remember?
Where was I on 9/11? I was at school,
Yeah.
and then my mom came
Yeah.
and picked me up.
Were
Yeah,
you on the
I was
coast?
in.
Are you East Coast?
Oh no, I was actually in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I was nowhere
I feel
near.
like-
I was nowhere near it, but everyone was still just like kind
So
of
then
scared.
it was even
like,
an hour earlier for you there then too, right? Because Santa Fe is not mountain time.
It's mountain.
It is
time.
mountain time. Okay,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, same time zone.
Because I
Um,
thought I hadn't made it to school yet when
That's what I
9/11
was thinking.
happened.
Well,
That's what
I-
I was thinking.
I'm pretty
I think
sure.
it kind of sound. There's a lot of fucking dots not connected in your story.
I'm pretty sure I was in like preschool still. Like I don't, because I was born at the end of '96, so I wouldn't have been in kindergarten yet. I think I would have been going, or no, maybe I just started in kindergarten. No matter what, I did like the preschool thing or like the daycare thing before like school started because my mom worked and my dad worked. My parents had these things called fucking jobs. I don't know if your parents worked or if they just stay at home all day, whatever, no judgment. But anyway,
Both my parents worked.
yeah, sure.
My dad worked for Hewlett Packard. Ever heard of it?
Ever heard of it, Julian?
That's funny.
yeah. No.
My dad worked for
Yeah,
HP
I
too,
know
and
it is.
he didn't anymore because of
And my mom, well, my dad doesn't either because he retired. But my
Oh, good for
mom
him.
was a early childhood special ed teacher, so she was just doing like one of the hardest jobs you could ever imagine. So
My
I
mom-
forgot what we were talking about completely.
we're talking about 9/11. All right,
Why are we talking about 9/11?
Because it connects to
Let's get
Asia
back.
somehow.
Let's talk about Asia.
It connects backwards to Asia.
Asia, yeah.
All right. Don't take that out of context.
Asia, the album.
9/11
By
is
Steely
yeah.
Dan.
It does. Middle East, the Middle East.
Yeah, exactly. Which is in Asia.
Yeah,
Crazy.
but different Asia. Okay, Black
Southeast
Cow.
Asia.
Song about a drink starts with a ridiculously tasty bass line.
Mm-hmm.
Seinfeld-esque.
Yeah, true. it really is. It's a great intro into this album. It's funny for this album having two of the bigger Steely Dan hits, perhaps three of the Steely Dan hits, that it does. They start off very tastefully, taking their time with Black Cow, and then
it sets a tone.
And then it sets a tone. And then the titular track, Asia, which is like really just an 8-minute jazz jam,
Yeah.
But amazing songs, and really sets the tone.
And I think it's the first. I could be wrong about this, but to my recollection, it's like one of the first kind of shorter Steely Dan records, i.e. that it's like under 40 minutes, just barely under 40 minutes.
I Countdown to Ecstasy is only like 35 minutes.
I made a note of that for Countdown to Ecstasy, actually, that it was surprisingly short. It's
40 minutes.
I thought it was 36.
I'm reading 40 minutes.
Okay, maybe Katie Lied was 36.
Katie Lied is 35 minutes. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, okay.
So,
anyways,
interesting. Julian, the big Katie Lied fan, didn't know that.
Well, I said one of the first.
Did you? You said one of the. I don't know. Run back the tape.
We got it on tape, so yeah.
we are literally recording all this.
It does always feel. I guess my point with that was just that it does to me feel kind of like a little bit shorter of a record. Like, it feels like it has less songs
concise
on it. Yeah,
it's only 7 tracks, which is pretty wild. But a couple of those tracks are longer, and like Asia's 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Deacon Blues is pretty long too.
Yes.
Deacon Blues also very good song.
I think "Drink Scotch Whiskey All Night Long and Die Behind the Wheel" is my favorite lyric of all time.
Best lyric.
Yeah.
And just the Alabama reference is just
the Crimson Tide.
It's just It's poetry in motion.
It really is.
It's a classic. I don't know. I'll give you a spoiler. It's not my number one favorite Steely Dan song, but it may be the most exemplary Steely Dan song of just their style and their humor and their songwriting. Like if you were going to show a guy what Steely Dan was all about, that might be the song you do it with.
And the fact that they do reference like a college and education and a knowledge for that is it's very Steely Dan.
Yes.
All right, so Deacon Blues is the second single off of Asia. No surprise, Peg is the first single.
Okay.
I think a long time as a kid, I knew the song Peg, obviously. It was a while before I knew it was a Steely Dan song. I thought that was like a yacht rock. Like you could have told me that like the Doobie Brothers or like Kenny Loggins wrote Peg. And I wouldn't have been surprised.
It is another
Michael McDonald's
notable song with Michael McDonald backing vocals on it. So
definitely.
Probably not a coincidence. Like it's probably a little bit subconscious. Michael McDonald might be what I would call yacht rock epitome.
For sure. So him or Christopher Cross have got to be the yacht rock dudes. Yeah.
Any song with his backing vocals is going to have a more yacht rock vibe to it.
But Peg is it's an amazing song. It sounds so good. It's such a great hook, so catchy.
I know you're gonna love it.
I seen your picture. It's such a groove.
So good. Home at Last is, my dad would be mad at me if I didn't mention that it's based on the Odyssey.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Homer's The Odyssey. It's about that. He was mad that I didn't put it on my my Steely Dan playlist. He went through it and he's like, well, you don't have this or this or this. And I'm like, well, Dad, you can make a playlist that's just every Steely Dan song if you want. But
I never knew that Al was such a Dan fan.
Oh, he's a head. Yeah, he's a big head.
Okay, that's great. Tell your dad I said hi, by the way.
Tell your dad I said hi, too.
Oh, well, I'll tell them both you said hi.
Cool. Me first, though.
No, me first.
So Julian says hi.
No context either. Don't tell him.
In 3 weeks, I'm gonna be like, "Oh yeah, Colin said I too."
So I have
news. Oh, go ahead.
No worries. Sorry. So I have the album, the vinyl for Asia.
Same.
I believe side
I fucking
A.
can't find it.
Yeah, side A is through Deacon Blues, and then side B side, kicks off with Peg, and then goes through that. So I'll oftentimes, as much as I love the first half, and as much as Deacon Blues is I won't even mention it actually. I'll often just throw on the B side of this album, which is because it's so fucking strong. I love Peg through Josie. Such beautiful songs.
Josie. That little guitar on that song is it's such I will never tire of it.
Yes, I will never tire of it either. Josie
so
was the
good.
third single, so the singles were Peg, Deacon Blues, Josie. I'm amazed that Peg is not their most successful single.
I'm telling you, dude, Can't Buy a Thrill.
Yeah,
It's
but
just,
no, it
it's so
didn't
crazy
pass Ricky Don't Lose That Number. Peg didn't.
How high did Peg get?
I don't have that noted here. I think it didn't even enter the top 10 Billboard charts for singles. However, Asia as an album was Steely Dan's most successful album. It reached number 3 in the US and number 5 in the UK.
Nice.
Yeah. I think part of the reason why Peg struggled, or it didn't struggle, it was still a big single, but why didn't it get, up in the top 5 is just because 77 was such a huge year.
Yeah.
The amount of amazing singles that came out in 77 were just mind-boggling.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that was like probably the, pinnacle year for yacht rock, 77, or one of them. And Peg kind of being in that space, I think there was just a lot of competition.
It's fair. It's fair. But I still think every song on this album deserved to be number 1 in my book.
Indeed.
I think it's a very good record, and that's all I'll say for now.
It's a very strong record.
Okay.
So we in Asia see Steely Dan, we see Fagen and Becker striving for even more studio perfection, striving to make the best sounding music ever. They push the expectations to new heights. There are over 40 different studio musicians who contribute to Asia. So it's definitely I think it has the largest cast of contributors. Asia, the name came from, it was just this, a Korean woman was named Asia, and she married the brother of one of Fagen's high school friends. And I think he just thought it was funny that she was named Asia and it was spelled that way, and just called the album that. As a kid, I always thought you were supposed to pronounce it aha. I don't know why.
I thought it was Aja when I was a
Aja,
kid.
yeah. I thought like the J, you're supposed to make an H sound with it or something.
Aisha.
I love that Steely Dan album.
Aisha.
Do you guys have any closing remarks on Asia?
Good record.
Really good. Really good. Great sound. I'd say this is where they really made the perfect studio sound.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm the first to have that take.
Yeah,
But
my dad always likes to say that a lot of like old school audiophiles consider Asia to be like the best mixed and best sounding record of all time. So
Definitely.
pretty fucking awesome.
that's just what
Pretty
my dad
awesome.
says.
I've loved it. Loved it for years. It's the record that first got me into Steely Dan. So very good.
Well, another good segue, Connor, because now we'll get into the album that first got me into Steely Dan, which is Gaucho, 1980. So, I think I mentioned, I did tell this story when we had you on last time, Connor, because this is how the idea of to do a Steely Dan episode first came on, because you had mentioned like that you had an experience with an album where like it was just in your car for like a long time, the CD was.
Yeah.
And
and you said you had that with Gaucho.
I had that with Gaucho. So the summer before I went into college, I only listened to Gaucho. So it's very near and dear to my heart. But Gaucho was released in 1980 3 years after
Yeah.
Asia. So Asia marked the end of the unbelievable Steely Dan run of albums. And it was kind of an intentional thing. I think, they just, I think Asia kind of pushed them to their brink in a lot of respects. And so they decided that it was a good idea to kind of take a break after that. So they took a break from writing for almost all of 1978. And then in 79, they really began, or late 78, early 79, they really began working on Gaucho. Gaucho is an album plagued with problems in the Steely Dan universe, both personal problems and production problems. So the big thing production-wise that happened with Gaucho was that a song called The Second Arrangement, which was Kat's, Becker, and Fagen's favorite song that was supposed to be on the album, was accidentally erased entirely by an assistant engineer. And I can only imagine the absolute
his asshole got that day.
the absolute lashing.
Oh my
Imagine disappointing Becker and Fagen to that extent, to notoriously not cool or understanding dudes, and you erase like their favorite song that they had worked months on. The second,
I wish I could hear that song.
Okay, so the second arrangement, I don't really know how it happened, but it was somehow recovered in 2020 and released. I think you can find it on YouTube. I meant to look it up today again. I remember hearing it in 2020, but you can listen to the second arrangement somehow today. And I don't know how it was recovered. But anyways, it was left off the album, obviously. Personal problems in the band. Because this was such a hard album to work on, and because of like the production problems, there was really a rift growing between Becker and Fagen. They were arguing all the time. The relationship was struggling. And then it kind of hit its head when Becker's girlfriend died of a drug overdose at his apartment in New York. He was subsequently sued for $17 million by the girlfriend's family. And right around that same time, he was walking home late at night, and he was struck by a taxi in New York, and it shattered most of his right leg. So that was in 79. So Becker, for like when they were taking the last, putting the finishing touches on this album, Becker was in the hospital and was just communicating with Fagen and Katz over the phone. So that was some of the legal problems. The other legal problems, not to jump ahead of ourselves, but after the album came out, Steely Dan was sued by jazz arranger Keith Jarrett because he claimed that the title track Gaucho was ripped off from his song Long As You Know You're Living Yours, is what the song was called. And Fagen actually did eventually admit that, yeah, he did rip it off from that he liked that song a lot. So anyways, there was a lot of problems in the Steely Dan universe around Gaucho. After this album, Becker and Fagen's relationship totally dissolved for over a decade. They did not talk to each other. They did not make music together. Steely Dan, they didn't even see each other. Well, I said they didn't talk to each other, so it would make sense they didn't see each other either.
They saw each other, but they did not
talk.
Despite all of that, though, and this is what makes Gaucho all the more incredible, is that Gaucho is a masterpiece. Despite all those problems, in my mind, it's a masterpiece, and in a lot of people's minds, it's a masterpiece. And especially if we're considering like the yacht rock movement that was going on there, Gaucho became the new gold standard for what yacht rock should be. We fully see them go into their like lounge. I think lounge music is a more appropriate thing to call Gaucho rather than yacht rock, but we fully see them go into that mode with this album. So anyways, enough rambling from me. What did you guys think of Gaucho?
Excellent amount of pre-roll to the album. I'll go first because I think I have a lot less to say. I like this album, and I definitely see why it's revered so highly by a lot of people. It's not one of my favorite Steely Dan records. I'm not big on what I have always referred to as the lounge side of Steely Dan. I like that explorative side a bit more. So Gaucho never connected with me as much. I also did discover Gaucho way later in my life than the early Steely Dan. And I feel like for most people, it's kind of the opposite. Like a lot of people that I know started with Gaucho and worked their way backwards. So I think if you're starting with Gaucho, it makes a lot more sense and kind of is easier to connect to. But if you start with their earlier stuff and work up to Gaucho, for me personally, I just was never able to like connect with it as much. But yeah, I still think it's fucking great. I do like, you say it's a masterpiece. It really is like a masterpiece. Like there subjectively is nothing wrong with the record at all. Like it doesn't need change. It sounds incredibly good. The songwriting and the performance is all super there. So it is a very good record.
Yeah. Connor, thoughts on Gaucho?
You look sad.
You do look sad.
Do
Are
I
you
look?
okay?
I look sad? Oh no! I was just taking a deep breath.
Okay.
I do. I love Gaucho is one of the first albums that I got into with Steely Dan. It was Asia and kind of Gaucho at the same time, kind of simultaneously. So for a long time, they were like my 1-2. I still really like the title track, Hey 19. I fucking just from the opening little guitar note, such an awesome song.
Yeah.
Such a smooth song. It's maybe their most yacht rocky song, but it's so good.
And it has that opening note is performed by none other than Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits.
I don't know if I knew that, but it makes so much
Makes a lot of
sense.
sense. Yeah.
So good. Babylon Sisters was one of the first Steely Dan songs I really got into. Used to live when I lived in Vale, the classic rock radio station was like bigger on deep cuts. They would play that song a lot. And I really like the backing harmonies on that song. The Santa Ana Winds. Just a beautiful album overall. I will say that not to spoil, but I think upon going back to everything, it slipped a little bit in my
Oh, interesting.
my overall.
Okay.
But it's still a master. I totally agree, masterpiece of an album. And I didn't know that much about the history around the making of it either. So that does make it even crazier.
Yeah. It's just crazy that it came out at all and turned out as cohesive and as brilliant as it is. We'll get to let me just mention real quick the singles. We've talked about them real quick, but the singles as they came out. Hey 19 was the first single in the US. Time Out of Mind was the second single in the US. And Babylon Sisters was the UK single.
So they didn't do title track as a single at all?
No, Gaucho was not a single.
Interesting.
Which I love Gaucho, the title track, but it's a slow, weird song. It's
the lyrics are super strange.
Lyrics are very strange, yeah.
I don't know what they mean.
Who is the gaucho amigo? Why is he standing in his spangled leather poncho with his elevator shoes? I always thought it was about
you nailed it.
A gay friend of theirs who's like their parents didn't accept. I could be totally wrong. I've never really looked too much into but that was my impression of it.
Well, I'll tell you what, you don't need to really look into what Steely Dan songs are about, because often you'll be disappointed and weirded and grossed out. So you just like everyone's gone to the movies. Back to Katie Line. It's all about. My dad was telling me it's all about pornos.
Yeah, right. They're very weird guys. Yeah. It's better to just have your own impression of what you might think
because you'll probably, if you look too deep into it, you're going to learn about some weird sex thing you didn't know about. And you're going to be like, well, damn, that song's a little weird now. But
the only other thing,
Go ahead.
The only other thing I'll say about Gaucho is I think it's my favorite album art too of all the Steely Dan releases.
Interesting.
That's true. I have it. I do have it framed. I've got it framed and on the wall.
Yeah.
Which I also had with Asia, and now I don't know where it is.
I would say Steely Dan did not knock it out of the park with the cover art for a lot of their albums. It's
Asia is sick too. Though.
Asia's and it fits the album well. It's very understated and elegant.
Yeah, that is a cool. Yeah, but some of their album arts are a little bit.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
don't love them.
So do you guys want to talk about any albums or any Steely Dan stuff past Gaucho? I wasn't really prepared to, but if you wanted to, we can, or we can just go straight into our rankings.
I don't think I have much to say.
Rankings.
Okay. We'll just mention
let's rank 'em.
for the listeners, if you're not familiar, Steely Dan did end up reuniting after their kind of 10, 12-year hiatus after Gaucho, released some albums throughout the 90s and early 2000s, did some touring as well. They did a huge reunion tour that was really successful. But I don't really know those albums too well. There's Gaucho through...
I got P again before rankings.
Okay, cool.
Last one. But I also don't know any of those. Except for Cousin Dupree. That's a good song.
I gotta check that one out.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, for me, Julian, Can't Buy a Thrill through Gaucho. It's so much material to listen to. And
Yeah, it really is.
if I'm gonna go and I want to listen to Steely Dan, I'm gonna put on one of those albums.
I'm going to put on specifically from those albums, even just the album that I know I like, or the albums that I know I like, because it's not like at this point. I would be lying if I said I was going back to the Steely Dan albums to try and find new life in them or repurpose them in any way. I already know what I like about them.
Totally.
I'm not trying to discover new stuff
Yeah.
about Steely Dan specifically.
Yeah. Right.
But
why would you?
Yeah. What they peaked. This is going to sound really negative of me to say, but they definitely peaked, in my opinion, in the early mid 70s. So there's no reason why stuff they would put out in the mid 90s or even the 2000s would sound like it belongs there at all.
It would be way doper if they had just stopped after Gaucho.
Yeah, it's cool that they came back together. I think what would have been cool for Steely Dan fans rather than new songs is just a peek behind the curtain of some of the older songs or even just reworked versions of older songs.
Yeah, true.
We're not talking about you two this time. We successfully made it through
avoided that.
a pee break without bringing up.
Good job.
I was sensing we were only mere moments from going back into YouTube.
I was
so
about to
it's
talk
good that you were
about-
quick, Connor.
yeah.
I hurried back. I was worried.
So we ranked our top 5 Dan albums and our top 10 Dan tracks. How do you guys want to do this? Should we start with albums and go one after, should we each say our
Just
5
in a
and then go
circle?
our 4?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I was thinking.
Okay. Does that work for you, Connor?
That works for me. That's perfect.
All right. Since you're our esteemed guest, I would love for you to go first with your number 5.
Okay. Coming in at number, and we don't have to do too many notes. We've kind of said our bits.
Yeah.
So coming in at number 5, I have Gaucho
Ooh. All right.
as my 5th, which so it slid a decent amount. I thought it was going to be a firm 2, and there's a couple surprises on here. So
Okay. Well, I'm glad it made the list at all. Julian?
yeah, I did not have the heart to leave it off. So
Yeah.
number 5.
Coming in
It's
at
on
number 5 for me is the album Can't Buy a Thrill.
Okay.
All right.
That was one that I was debating putting instead of Gaucho, but I didn't.
Coming in at number 5 for me is Can't Buy a Thrill.
Oh, no way. Hell yeah.
Okay.
I didn't think you were going to put it on your list at all.
You guys had one in common.
Yep. I'll be curious to see if I doubt anything else will be.
I don't think so.
All right, Connor,
All right,
you're number 4.
Number 4 for me is Pretzel Logic.
All right.
Pretzel Logic.
Number 4 for me is the album Asia.
Okay.
Ooh. All right.
Okay. I'm glad it made the list.
Yeah, me too. Countdown to
sad.
Ecstasy
Okay.
is number 4 for
Okay.
me.
Okay. Number 3 for me is Asia.
Oh.
Interesting. All
So
right.
that dropped from number 1. That was a firm
Yeah.
number 1. I did not think that was going to happen.
Yeah.
But,
That is very interesting.
That's cool that your list changed so much
yeah.
in preparation.
I'm happy. Yeah.
Number
All right.
3 for me is going to be the Royal Scam.
Wow, we're with
No
each other once again. The
way.
I
Royal
love it.
Scam is my number
Woo!
3.
We fucking did it.
Yep.
Not to spoil anything, I think we all really like the Royal Scam.
Yes.
Yes.
So you guys are both number
That's
3 for
excellent
both you is Royal
foreshadowing.
Scam. Yeah. Number 2 for me is Countdown to Ecstasy.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
cool.
Yeah,
I did
really,
expect it
really
to be
like
high
that
on your
album.
list. So number 2.
Yeah.
All right.
Fucking so good.
It is very
Just
it is
if not
very-
just for the Boston Rag and my old school, they're both.
Yeah.
No, it is a good album all the way through. Number 2 for me is going to be the album Katie Lied.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's crazy. But
I think yeah, I totally disagree. And I can guess what your number 1 is, and I disagree
will
with
go
that
listen
even
to
more.
it more, but
No, I
it's
think
nuts.
when we're talking songs, specific songs, I'll make a pitch for Katie Lied, and
Okay, that's fair.
I'm not going to try to convince you why it's great, but for me,
The listeners.
there's a throughput in the album Katie Lied where it's like, for what I like in Steely Dan, I think it appears the most on the album Katie Lied.
Well, and knowing you so well, Julian, and your musical taste, it doesn't surprise me that you love Katie Lied, because that is right up your alley.
Yeah.
It's the more proggy stuff. It's a little edgier, raw, rockier,
A little goofy.
a little goofy. Number 2 for me, Asia.
Okay,
I thought that was
I
gonna be
think-
your number 1.
Nope, it's not.
I didn't. I'm not surprised after hearing about the other one.
Yeah.
But all right, so my number 1.
Should we try to guess it? Do you want us to guess it?
Do you want to try to guess it? Yeah, I think you probably will.
Well, yeah, I think just by process of elimination, I can. The
Yeah.
Royal Scam.
The Royal Scam. My dad, like father, like son. I think I haven't told him yet that it was going to be my number 1. It was really hard to make this list, to be honest.
Yeah.
I kind of just had to let it rip, and like
Yeah. First instinct.
5 really good albums.
Whatever
I
your
did that
gut tells
too.
you.
We could revisit just these rankings in like a year.
Yeah, that's
Totally.
true.
And,
They would change entirely.
See what the vibe is, yeah, and I could be. But on pod re-listening, we'll talk about it in songs, I guess. But like going through, you can see on Spotify like what songs you have liked off an album.
Mm-hmm.
And I have like every song. As we were going through, I was looking, and like every song but one off Royal Scam. It's like, yep, that's enough to be in the like songs. So,
All right, Julian.
all right, you guys,
Your number
Julian?
1.
All right, my number 1, I'm sure obviously also not a surprise, but my number 1 is going to be Pretzel Logic.
That's a logic.
Kind of like what I said when we were talking about it earlier. In my opinion, this album is the perfect culmination of everything they had been doing up to this point and everything that they conceptually were thinking about. And I think it's the best execution of being interesting and progressive, and at the same time being very like accessible and not taking itself too seriously. And I think it also kind of influenced like most of the rock and like psychedelic stuff in the 90s more than most of the other like 70s prog or whatever you want to call it. And I also just find myself coming back to Pretzel Logic the most and listening to it all the way through and being like the most satisfied at the end of it. So yeah, Pretzel Logic, baby.
Beautiful. I think
Colin?
it's no surprise for you guys either what my favorite is. It's Gaucho at number 1.
There it is. There it is, folks.
I think 2 through 5 could change on any given day of the week. I'm not sure Gaucho would ever be removed from my number 1 position. To me, it's the quintessential Steely Dan album. If I ever meet someone who doesn't know Steely Dan, I recommend they listen to Gaucho. It tells you everything you need to know about Steely Dan and their sensibilities and what they would become. And for me, I think kind of starting off with Gaucho and seeing where they ended up is a fun place to start, because then going back from there makes it all the more interesting to see how they like developed.
It is very weird to listen to their stuff in the 70s and then, or their stuff in the early 70s specifically, and then listen to Gaucho in 1980 and be like, this is the same band. Like it's so
Yeah.
categorically different in so many ways, and you wouldn't necessarily expect them to start where they started and end at Gaucho. So I could definitely see why that would be like such a powerful album, like overall, and why it sticks out so much as being like such a masterpiece.
Yeah. And just for me, I think it's just one of the albums that had the biggest impressions on me in my life. And like, you know, just listening to that whole summer at a pretty developmental time in my young adulthood. And I remember, like, I would just think about that album and the lyrics and what they were singing about all the time. And yeah, it's very nostalgic whenever I do listen to Gaucho.
All right.
So it's cool. None of us had the same number ones,
lists.
which I liked.
Yeah. Your
Yeah.
number one wasn't even on my list at all.
Yeah. Was that the
My
end of
number
Connor's
one
list?
was pretty far down on your list.
Your number 2 and number 1 didn't even make our lists.
Yeah.
Connor and mine's
No.
list.
True.
Yeah.
I had Pretzel Logic on my list.
Oh, that's right. You did. My bad.
I had
Well,
4.
Katie lied wasn't on there.
No, wasn't.
Okay.
The songs were real hard.
Really hard.
This
Yeah,
is
I
like
agree.
I'm not sure I fully agree with my list.
I made
I
several
almost
lists
me
and
neither.
picked the one I liked the best.
Yeah.
I kind of just went off the cuff and was like, I don't think it's going to be better if I overthink it. So, like, I don't know. I almost want to do it in no particular order, but I ordered them just cause. But I don't think we should be. I don't think we should be held accountable for these.
Yeah, we're not beholden to
They are
this
I don't
subject
think
to
that
change.
people
Yeah.
should come after us, and I don't think people should say, you know, if we're doing 5 albums, you leave an album off, you should have to speak for it. But I don't think people should be like, oh my God, you left this song.
Yeah.
Like,
So do you want to just
they got 50 great songs, so and we're
Truly.
picking 10. So
should we just do this speedy? Just go down in order from the list. Each, go around the circle again and just name songs,
Yeah.
and we won't even talk about it.
I mean, you could talk. I mean,
We can talk about it.
Talk
You're
about it a
right.
little bit.
I don't know why I'm trying to put such
Yeah, why are you rushing on
There's-
this?
limiting rules
yeah,
on this.
there's something about the song that you like.
My
You could
bad. You're right.
talk
I'm
about.
sorry. Go ahead, Connor, with your number 10.
Number 10, Pretzel Logic.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Just
I
stepped up on the platform. Man, give me the news.
give me the news.
You said you must be joking, boy. Where did you get those shoes? Just because of that. That is a good
That's
song.
a great. Yeah, that's a good part.
Haven't it? He's doing like the goofiest shit with his voice in that song, and it's just
It works.
it's so good. It works.
I will say, for my list, I did try to put it in an order, so I'm going to stick to that order just because for me, half the battle was getting these songs in an order. So
Yeah.
my number 10.
Mine's in order too.
Okay,
Mine
cool.
is in order. I'm just saying I don't want people to come at me. My whole preamble was don't come at me.
I think if you want to come at me for this, I encourage you to. I'm ready to fucking fight. I will throw down over literally anything at all. So
Yeah, you've
just
been
hit me
very
up.
combative.
You can,
I think you threatened to fight Connor twice.
All right, yeah, I like your energy. You can come at me as well. Let's
All right, I'm gonna be flying
All right.
out there so that you can kick my ass.
All right, let's go. All right. Number 10.
Number 10 is gonna be the song "Dirty Work" for me.
All right, I love that.
Cool. That's a great one. For me, number 10, Gaucho.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will say the only reason Dirty Work wasn't on my top 10 is just non-Fagen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Hard.
mean, in a lot of
Hard for
ways,
me
I wasn't gonna put it on my list because of that, and then I kind of remembered in a lot of ways, "Dirty Work" was the song that made me get into Steely Dan to begin with because it's just so fucking
Sure.
catchy, and in a lot of ways, it's like it's kind of heavy. Like it
Oh, yeah.
grooves so hard that it's got a little bit of stank to it. So
True.
And it's a tone, listening to it, driving the Suburban home.
Mm-hmm.
Can't beat it. All right. And Colin, 10 was Gaucho. Did you have anything to say about Gaucho, Colin?
It almost didn't make my list, but I was just thinking about how much I love the album Gaucho, and for me, like that song is such an important moment in the album, and it always sticks with me. So I had a different number 10. I think I had I can't remember what I had before actually, but I removed that number 10 and put Gaucho in there because I felt
Nice.
it felt wrong not having it on the list.
Nice. My number 9 is Deacon Blues.
Oh, nice.
Okay, nice.
Beautiful.
I actually forgot I had that in my top 10, but I'm glad that I think when I was talking about it earlier, I like didn't think I had it in there, and then like I talked about it so much, I was like, "Fuck, I should have had that song." So I'm glad it's on there
It's on
because
there.
I'm glad it's in your top 10 too.
I talked about that song a lot earlier, so everything I said earlier, great song,
Hell yeah.
awesome song.
All right, my number 9 is going to be The Caves of Altamira. And the reason why I already mentioned earlier, the fucking horns on this song,
Yep.
they rip. That breakdown you mentioned, it rips. This song is probably, from a composition standpoint, maybe the best Steely Dan song. It's definitely in the top 5, like best, just like songwriting wise, Steely Dan songs. It's so conceptual. And it's so weird the way that it just happens and then it's just kind of over and the rest of the album isn't necessarily like that. Like it just is what it is and very, very good song.
My number 9, Do It Again. I've felt that I needed to put Do It Again on here because it's probably the earliest Steely Dan song I remember listening to. My grandpa really loved Steely Dan, like still loves Steely Dan, and I remember him playing this at his house a lot and loving it as a child. Thought it was a fun song, and yeah, great single. Nothing else to say about it.
Hell yeah.
Number 8,
Number 8.
I have Ricky. Don't lose that number.
Nice.
Which, just for the guitar solo alone, I wanted to put it higher. It is an amazing song, but they have a lot of amazing songs. But I had to have it in the top 10 just for this.
You reminded me, Connor, that, and this is spoiling something about my list. The fact that I don't have Ricky Don't Lose That Number on my list because that's what I had at my number 10 before I replaced it with Gaucho.
Got it.
Yeah, I remember that now.
That's fair. It's fair.
All right, my number 8 is Haitian Divorce. Again,
Nice.
just a fucking ripper, dude. We mentioned not vocoder.
Talkbox.
Talkbox. And the Talkbox performance on this song throughout is so interesting. It's just so good. And again,
What makes the song for me?
yeah. It takes a somewhat normal song and elevates it to being just a very enigmatic song, just very interesting song. And when I'm listening to Steely Dan, I feel like this always finds its way into the rotation because it's just such a ripper.
Great choice. For me, my number 8, Babylon Sisters.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
Okay. That was originally my number 10.
If we were to
Great
rank
song.
best opening tracks, best number 1 first songs on an album, Babylon Sisters would be up there for me. It like sets such a cool mood for the song and
Probably the best tone setter.
yeah, and the imagery of it, like driving out of town, turn that jungle music down. It's so cool. Anyways, Connor, you're number 7.
Babylon Sisters not on my list, but I do love that song.
Hard call, yeah.
I only have one Gaucho song on here, but number 7, right? Number 7, Do It Again. Do It Again.
Okay, cool.
Oh, nice.
So that was my
Okay.
number 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that that's why I didn't say anything about it when you said it. I think that's the most. I think that's my only Can't Buy a Thrill song. Yep, it's just the most vibey song on that album for sure. It's such a cool just atmosphere. It's like the one album or the one song on that album where I really feel like they set an atmosphere that they would do so successfully throughout their albums in the future. But that I do really like that song.
Well said.
I like the vocals. Yeah. I like the vocals, and it's just cool song. So
we do get a glimpse into the future with that song. Yeah.
All right. My number 7 is going to be Any Major Dude Will Tell You.
Nice.
Yeah, I should have had.
Keep it short and sweet. This song just reminds me, like, I can't remember what song we were talking about earlier that you said reminded you of Fish. this to me, the
Bodhisattva.
the end of the breakdown in this song reminds me of Fish. The
Yeah.
that part reminds me of Fish a lot, and I also just think the again, I wouldn't call it a guitar solo, but the guitar noodling on this song is so tasteful and excellent, and I fucking love this song a lot. So
I'm a little sad that I don't have it in my top 10. I think
that's.
might have been an oversight. It's a possible oversight on my part.
I think I'd say the same about mine. All right,
It's a great song.
my number 7, The Caves of Altamira.
okay, nice.
Nice.
I wasn't sure after we talked about it earlier if that was going to be higher up or not. I knew it was going to be somewhere on
the
list.
list. Yeah. Yeah, like on any other day, it could be higher up on my list. I love the song so much. Number 7 is just where it ended up now. But yeah, such a groovy fucking song. I talked about the breakdown earlier, but it's such a visceral reaction for me anytime I listen to that song. It's just like, oh, what was that? It's fucking crazy.
Yep.
Connor, number 6.
Number 6 for me is Josie.
Oh, cool.
Cool.
Good call.
I just really, really like the guitar on that song.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's not their most intricate or nuanced or complicated song that they ever made, but fuck, it sounds real good and it's real catchy. And one of the first songs I ever truly loved and played the shit out of by them. So I had to get it on here.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 6 for me is Any World That I'm Welcome To. Kind of like what you just said. It's not their most nuanced or prolific song. It's relatively straightforward, but it's just, I think in a lot of ways, their most honest and kind of straightforward, beautiful song. It just always makes me feel really good when I listen to it. So it's on there for that reason.
That's Anywhere That I Walk Down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I listened to that song today, Julian, and it got me.
It's
it made me feel
very emotional.
Yeah. And it's maybe one of my favorite Michael McDonald performances on a Steely Dan song.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
That one didn't even make my playlist.
Ooh.
I should probably put that on the playlist.
I mean, I understand.
Yeah,
it's definitely not an essential Dan track, but for me, it's pretty essential.
Kind of a weird one for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, number 6 for me, The Boston Rag.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Love it.
Yep. I knew it had to be somewhere on the list. It was listening to that album, the song that changed my opinion on that album the most. I heard that one, I was like, damn, this album really has it. And I mentioned the lyrics earlier. It's just such great, quintessential fagen lyrics for me, and the delivery is rad. And I just love that song.
Hell yeah.
I almost put. I remember earlier having Connor when you said that you didn't like the song Bodhisattva. I think I ended up replacing Bodhisattva with the Boston Rag.
Good.
Okay.
If I remember, so
Good decision.
But I like the song Bodhisattva a lot. But I did not make the list.
Top 5, baby.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5.
Top 5. The top 5 songs on Apple Music.
Welcome to the top 5 Steely Dan songs on podcadzo. Number 5 for me is the Boston Rag.
Ah, cool.
Interesting.
No shit.
Y'all are pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Same vibe. I think we all. Julian's gone off the rails a little bit here, but we'll see what happens.
I'm not going to redeem myself.
It's gonna get weird.
Some of your songs. I don't want to spoil anything, but Boston Rag. Yeah, I listened to. I went in order when I went back and re-listened to everything, and I listened to Can't Buy Thrill and was like, damn, pleasantly surprised. And then Countdown to Ecstasy, I just wasn't excited to listen to, and Boston Rag came on, and I was like, oh, okay, that solo hit. I'm like, all right, I'm in for this album. Hooked. And just was one of the most replayed songs of that run. It's just really good. Guitars throughout just do it for me. I love it. Love it.
Great choice.
All right. Number 5 for me. Going to be the song I Got the News. off
Wow.
the Asia
Nice.
album.
Nice.
Nice.
Great
It's a
song.
great song, for
Very,
sure.
very good song. I wanted to pick a song off Asia, but I didn't want it to be the song Asia, which probably would have been my other pick. So I picked this one because I think it has a little bit more of that mystique to it, of the weird stuff that still lingers on Asia a little bit. So
Yeah, that's a great choice. Totally agree with that. That it's got the weirder stuff on there. Okay, of all the songs in my list, this is the one that I'm doubting the most that I might move around. But I'm
This is your
sticking to
number
it now.
five?
I'm sticking to it.
This is 5?
This is 5.
Okay.
Also off of Asia, Peg.
okay,
Yeah.
Okay. I don't hate it.
doubting.
I don't. I absolutely would keep it in my top 10, but I think if I were to redo this, I would maybe move something in 6 through 10
Okay,
to number 5. Perhaps even the Boston Rag. Connor might like the song "The Boston Rag" more than Peg, but
Okay.
I'm sticking to it. I love Peg.
it seems like it's still got significance to you individually.
Yeah.
It does. Yeah.
I don't think I got anything bad to say about Peg. Good track.
Right on.
Great track. I don't think it's out of place at all in anybody's top 5. Number 4 for me is Haitian Divorce.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
The
Minutes
talk
way up.
box. The talk box is, and it just, the chorus is really catchy too, but that's number one about that song is the talk box. I just love it. Rips through the whole part, and then it just goes on a huge ripper at the end, and it's just a really fun song to listen to. I love it. Every time I listen to it, I'm like, fuck, this song.
Yeah,
It's good.
Hell
it
yeah.
goes very hard.
Yeah, I felt high, but I'm like, you know what? I don't know. I think back to every time I listen to it, I'm like, I just really like that song. So,
Fuck yeah.
boom, that's where it is. Yeah. All right, 4 for Julian.
4 for me is the song "Rose Darling" off of Katie Lied.
Nice.
Definitely on any given day could be my favorite Steely Dan song. Today, I was trying to think about it with more big picture in mind, but this song's given me so much joy over the years, and it sticks in my head every time I listen to it. So, had to throw it up there. I love it.
Hell yeah.
Sweet. I like it.
I can't wait to
Um,
revisit your top 10 and like really listen to those songs in depth.
Yeah.
Because obviously, because I see what you see in all of them, but like it's just so different from what I picked.
Yeah.
Number 4 for me, Glamour Profession
Okay.
Okay.
off of Gaucho.
Yeah.
It's such a rad. I love the LA references, and to me, like Steely Dan, I associate being a real LA band, and so it's just cool to like hear this song, kind of knowing that, and be like, oh, I get some of these references, and like this is cool, and it's got such a great groove. Just yeah, fantastic song. I love Glamour Profession.
Nice. I think that song fits in with like the rest of the songs that are like super influential to you. I feel like like
totally.
it makes a lot of sense.
I especially like maybe the line that stuck with me most from Gaucho is "Living hard will take its toll." Just the way he delivers that. Living hard.
So casually.
Yeah, exactly. I just love that chord. And it's so sarcastic and so Steely Dan-esque. Yeah, love Glamour Profession.
All right, top
All
3.
Top 3.
Top 3. Number 3 for me is Caves of Altamira.
Oh, wow.
Sick. So we
Okay.
all had
Yeah.
that in our list.
Yeah.
So-
I'm surprised you guys are surprised at how into it I was into that brass section.
No, I'm not
I fucking
surprised.
love that song fucking rule.
I think it's just interesting how our lists are almost like flip
I
flopped.
know. Well, I know because when you said both those songs earlier, and I was like, I wanted to be like, oh, this is more similar than I thought, but then I'm like, shit, these are pretty high up. I don't want to give them away. So I was like trying to hold my enthusiasm down a little bit, but
And
yeah,
honestly, that song could on another random day probably be higher up on my list too. It just hasn't been in my rotation as much lately, but I mean, it's songwriting fucking mastery, dude. It's so good.
It really is. It's fucking crazy.
all right, we've talked a lot about that song. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Number 3 for me is Green Earrings. off of the Royal
Okay.
Sandman.
I like that.
Fucking amazing song. I won't talk about it too much. It just is one of those songs I always listen to and it gets stuck in my head. It's so, again, kind of uncategorically like what they were doing at that time that I just really like the way it is its own kind of thing. And it's a beautiful song. It's so beautiful. So
Green Earrings did not make my list, but
Neither.
other than Caves of Altamira, it's my favorite song on the Royal Scam.
nice.
I was grooving with it so hard just earlier today.
Yeah,
that song.
it's so fucking
It goes,
good.
yeah, it's great. All right, number 3 for me. Hey 19.
Okay.
My top 5 is so
They're
fucking
all
lame,
from
dude.
Gaucho.
It's nostalgia. No, it
Nice.
changes up a little bit after that. Hey 19 is still, I mentioned the sound engineering stuff. It's what I sound check every PA with. It's the first song I play when I set up a PA, looking to EQ it. I know the song inside and out. It's one of the best produced Steely Dan songs in my mind. I love the Knopfler contributions, and yeah, fantastic song.
I think that's insane you have it so high on your list. Because my number 2 is Hey 19
Wow.
by Steely Dan.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, I fucking love that song, dude. That song
It's so
is so good, dude.
It's
It
so good.
sounds so good. It sounds like drinking a fucking. It's like Steely Dan meets Jimmy Buffett
Yep.
in the best way possible.
I've talked a
It's
lot.
so good.
I keep saying this is getting old about my favorite Steely Dan lyrics, but another one of my favorite Steely Dan lines is probably just the way they deliver the Cuervo Gold, the fine Colombian.
Cuervo Gold,
Yeah.
the fine Colombian.
That's such a high point. Wonderful thing.
I've listened to that song so many times in my life, and it's just never gotten old. I will never be sad to hear the opening note of it. So it's funny when you said number 3. That's like the second time that's happened where you've had one higher than me, and it's gone right into me. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you said number 3, Hey 19, and you're like, oh, my list is so fucking lame. I'm like, if that song's lame, then
No, I just meant my
lift
list.
me up.
My list so far has been lame because it's so gaucho heavy.
Oh, well, that song is incredible.
Yeah.
Hard to top.
Julian, your
It
number
is
2?
topped by one in my opinion, but
By definition, since it is your number 2.
All right, my number 2, little bit basic, so I apologize, but it is Ricky Don't Lose That Number.
nice.
That's a great choice.
Again, when we're talking Steely Dan songs that got me into Steely Dan, this song is the second song behind Dirty Work that made me see, like, these songs are fucking amazing. Like, they're more than just 70s rock songs. There is layers and there's depth to all of them. And Ricky Don't Lose That Number is so, like, joyous and optimistic sounding, but it's also, yeah, like, so confounded and kind of open-ended lyrically that it's just like, yeah, perfect world into the Steely Dan universe. And yeah, the guitar in it, we've said a million times, but I'll say it one more time, the guitar in it is probably my favorite guitar solo I've ever heard. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Number 2 for me, Deacon Blues.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah. It's one that just over time has grown with me. I mentioned the lyric "Drink Scotch whiskey all night long and die behind the wheel" is one of my favorite lines in rock history ever. But just the chorus on Deacon Blues, it's such like masterful lyric writing and delivery, and the melody is so beautiful, and it just swings with you. And I love this song.
Do you know the clothing brand Feels So Good? Used to be called Fine Southern Gentleman. They just
I knew a Fine Southern Gentleman.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, I actually have a few of their shirts because they're just make all. I don't even think any of them are licensed or anything, but they're all like just really niche graphics. Like I have one that says it looks like the Black Flag album cover, but it says Billy Joel scenes from Italian restaurant.
I have a
That's rad.
I have a shirt that's a Grateful Deadhead, but it has a salad bowl like in the top of it and breadsticks coming out, and it says the Olive Garden on it, and I'm pretty sure it's a fine Southern gentleman shirt.
Yeah, it probably is. But anyway, they have a bunch of fun, sweet Steely Dan ones. They had this hat that was sick, but I can't find it anymore. I was looking for it. That's like dark green corduroy, and it says Steely Dan Katie lied, like in the album font. But there was a sticker that I was like, this would be a great sticker, but the worst thing to put on your car that was like, keep honking. I've been drinking Scotch whiskey all night long, and I plan on dying behind you.
That's hilarious.
You couldn't really put that on your car, but
Yeah. I'll have to look up that brand.
Way,
That's awesome.
just a great, yeah. You should look up their. I have a few of their shirts, and they're like, they're all so niche. Like one of the ones I have says, "You can only trust yourself" in the second Jerry Rafferty album.
That's very niche.
Like one person ever in your life will be like,
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow, sick reference.
All right, so that was your number 2 was Deacon Blues.
Yeah, so now
Awesome
we're into
song.
our top
Number one.
Our top one. Number one song. My number one Steely Dan song is My Old School.
Not surprised.
Yeah, I don't think you would be. I talked about it a lot when we talked about Countdown to Ecstasy, but it's just what I feel like just the sound of them hitting their stride and just nailing it, and I just love it. It's hard. It's hard.
Great choice.
And obviously, I
can't argue that at all.
Up. Yep, and yep. I flip flopped Royal Scam, Countdown to Ecstasy 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's probably why, because My Old School is my number one song. But yeah, it was really hard to make that top 10.
Yeah, very.
What do you got, Julian? What do you got?
My number 1 is Bad Sneakers from Katie Lied.
Oh,
Wow.
fuck! I fucking should have put that on here.
Yeah, that's a great song.
That song is hands down my favorite Steely Dan song of all time.
Yeah.
Not only do I listen to it all the time, but even when it's not in my rotation, it just pops in my head randomly. Like I'll be doing dishes at work, and then all of a sudden I'll be singing Bad Sneakers,
And a pina
colada, my friend. Yeah, it's proggy, it's catchy. The time in it is awesome. The drum performance in it, like the drum fills in that song are like why I like doing like drum fills in between beats or not in between beats, in between phrases, or like off kilter kind of drum structures that tie into like what the vocal performance is doing specifically. Like there's so many amazing prog rock cues on that song that like they formed so many things in my head as being like quintessentially crucial for writing amazing songs. And it's just, yeah, it's my favorite Steely Dan song of all time. So that's why it's my number 1.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's a great
an awesome song.
I also think if I were to redo this, it might make my top 10.
Yeah, I was listening to it as I pulled in home from work like 10 minutes before we started, and I was listening to it as I pulled in, and I was like, this song
It rips.
slaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Colin.
My number 1 Steely Dan song, Time Out of Mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
May be surprising to some.
It is a little.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm not surprised that it's something from Gaucho.
Yes. It's my favorite. At the end of the day, it's my number 1 because it's my favorite song off of my favorite song, Steely Dan album.
Sure.
I love Time Out of Mind. When he gets into the chorus, tonight when I chase the dragon, the water will change to cherry wine. Just that whole part, I'm just like, like anytime it came on when I was listening to it in the car, I was grooving so hard to that song. I think I've been throwing around yacht rock stuff a lot. I apologize for that, but if you're gonna play devil's advocate and talk about Steely Dan in the yacht rock universe, Time Out of Mind is one of the quintessential yacht rock songs. It's so well produced, so smooth. I love that part. It's just, yeah, it's my favorite Steely Dan song at the end of the day.
Nice.
I think I'm not sure I would ever pick that off of number one off our list, no matter how many
Yeah.
times I redo it. I think Time Out of Minds just sticks around for me.
That's how I felt about my number one as
Mm-hmm.
well. Is just that no matter where the other songs go or if they fall off the list, like, yeah, my number one never will change. And it's very interesting. I think we always find ourselves, us specifically, we always find ourselves like in this interesting place of like we know where the other person is coming from all the time, but we always end up being kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah,
Like,
totally.
we just went through it with you too, where I like the weird, the uncharacteristic, and you like seeing a group hone in on their vision over a long period of time.
Yeah.
I think that's why the album Gaucho specifically for you like is such a strong culmination, is because it's like everything reaches a pinnacle on that record. So yeah, it's very interesting.
I think I kind of ended up in the middle of you guys.
Yeah, I think so too.
I've got crossover on at least on songs with both of you guys.
Yeah.
You know,
That's very
I do it
interesting.
again at Deacon Blues, but we had a couple of same Royal Scam songs. Yeah.
And it seems like overall, because I remember like last time you were on the pod, you mentioned wanting to check out some of the newer Steely Dan albums, i.e. like the 2000s albums, but not being
really
sure that
didn't do
you'd ever be able to like get around Gaucho like being the best one. And it seems like since then the prog bug has bitten you a little bit more, and it's like finding ways to have both is what's the most satisfying.
To so much, like just hours and hours and hours, and it probably just ended up like it like took my life over. I was like, all right, I'm gonna do a deep dive, and then like it just turned into like, oh my god, I'm listening to so much fucking Steely Dan. And then like I was like, and then there was like that was like the first like week, and then there was another like several days where I was like, all right, I need to listen to something other than Steely Dan, and I would just like get in my car or I'd put my headphones in and I would just put Steely Dan on. And I like wasn't mad about it. Like I just kept going to it, and like so it was just so many hours of it, and so it almost just like I just kind of rethought everything.
Honestly,
I will say I did not listen to enough Gaucho.
Yeah.
That's why we should revisit, because maybe I think I listened to the least of that on the revisit, and that's probably why.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I also did not listen to Gaucho. I listened to it
think
once,
that's your guys' problem, honestly. I think if you you'd be more on my tip.
Well, I don't know.
I think your top 10 would be like mine, where it's the 7 songs from Gaucho and then 3 other ones.
Well, we might just I'll listen to it again, and we might just have to have a part 2 podcast where we redo the entire podcast with more Gaucho content.
More Gaucho.
It's true.
Maybe we start from Gaucho and go backwards from there next time.
Not to make it about you two again, but the other day when I was at work, I was listening to our first U2 episode, and almost all of our approaches on that episode from just a year ago. We've been doing this podcast for a year. All of our takes are like completely different. Like at one point we're talking about No Line on the Horizon, and we're both just like, this album is such a miss except for the song Get On Your Boots. And now, and we both said it. And now here we are like a year later being like, that album is incredible, except for Get On Your Boots.
Wow.
So, yeah, just give us another year, and I'm sure we'll all feel pretty differently. Except it's hard with bands like Steely Dan at the same time, because I feel like we can listen to these albums and discover new things, but to a certain extent, the significance of each album is kind of already cemented for us. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, Connor, dude, thank you so much for coming on again. This was a blast. This is maybe the most fun I've had recording a non-U2 related episode.
I've been looking forward to it. It was really, really fun.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
As much as I love Steely Dan, I am excited to not listen to Steely Dan for a while, because I've felt absolutely obligated to put on a Steely Dan album for the last couple weeks whenever I'm listening to music. So
I went through this at the beginning of the year with Steely Dan, so I didn't really need to go back through too much. In like January, I had a moment where I was just listening to Steely Dan all the fucking time. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah,
since I bought my Queens of the Stone Age tickets, I've been going back down their rabbit hole. So.
Dude, let's get a Queens episode in. Like,
Dude, I would do
ASAP.
one.
After the show.
I could do one. A post.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me know. I'll do one. If you guys want to do a Queens of Stone Age, it's gonna be a little
I've
more
been
niche,
wanting
I
to
think,
do
but-
a Queens episode for a while because
We did a desert rock.
we did
episode,
desert
yeah.
rock, but I want to do probably kind of like what we did for the U2 project, where we just like break their catalog down kind of chunks at a time chronologically, because I think again with Queens there's like 3 different chapters of the Queens kind of discography, so
Like
There's
the first
trilogies
two,
in there. Yeah.
first 2, and then like Songs for the Deaf, Lullabies.
dude, Air Vulgaris, man. Whew.
You're
Yeah.
We could do a whole episode on Air
Yeah.
You
Vulgaris.
really,
Bro, I've got an Air Vulgaris tattoo like right here.
big Era Vulgaris guy, huh?
Air Vulgaris was the first
Do
album
people think that? Do people like that album?
I think so.
It's,
I mean, me
it's a
and my
big one for
buddies-
the heads, but it
Alright,
was never a
I
big
guess
one
I
for
should
me,
get
Connor.
into
And
it.
Julian got me super into Aero Vulgaris, where it's now in my top 3 easily.
Me and my
for
boys in high
Queens.
school
All right,
were
well, that's
always
the one
listening
I'm
to
gonna
that
have to go
record.
deep on.
Go deep on
I will
it.
say they've got a couple songs on their newer albums that are pretty good.
Oh yeah,
Light Clockwork is what I've been
the
rocking
song
with lately.
Feet. Well, Like Clockwork is front to back fucking awesome.
Yeah, that might be the masterpiece.
I would say that's probably the start of their third era. Would you say Like Clockwork is the beginning?
Yeah.
or the
Yeah,
end of their
Villains,
second
Light
era?
Clockwork, and
Times New Roman.
yeah,
they did say that those albums were a trilogy.
Mhm.
Like after they put out In Times New Roman, they said that it was part 3 of a 3-part.
Well, the song I just was re-listening to the song "Feet Don't Fail Me," and that song fucking.
Dude, Feet Don't Fail Me, Domesticated Animals, Head Like a Haunted House.
I'm excited to go listen. I haven't listened to In Times New Roman at all, and I need to listen to Villains
Really?
more. So
that was my most spun album of last year, probably.
It was for
In
me
Times
as
New
well.
Roman was?
And Times New Roman,
Really?
yeah.
Yep.
It was on repeat from the day it came out.
okay,
It was the
Damn,
one
all right.
artist and
I
album
was
that we
like-
shared last year.
That's right, yeah.
All right, well, I'm gonna start now with. I'm gonna do some In Times New Roman and then some Era Vulgaris.
Hell yeah.
And let me know when you want to do a date because you will see my playlist doesn't have much from either of those.
Okay, cool. When's the show, Connor? When are you seeing them?
May 24th.
Oh, it's not
So
till
it's
May.
not for a couple
We'll have to get an
months.
episode off.
Yeah,
before
we'll have to
then.
do one before then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just let me know. I'm down.
We'll make it
Awesome,
happen.
man. Yeah. It's always so much
right.
fun doing it with you, dude. Have a great rest of your night. I love you.
Love you guys.
Much love.
Be real.
Peace.
Be real.
Is it time to be real?
It's always time to be real.